Good morning and welcome to the second House Bill 1577 Mobile Retail Food Establishment Work Group meeting. So as we call this meeting to order, it is 10:05 a.m. We'll go ahead and start with attendance. For any of members of the work group that are attending virtually, thank you for participating. Once we call your district, if you could come off of mute and just say here, we do need a verbal confirmation. So District 1.
Here.
District 2.
Here.
District 3.
Here.
District 4. Here. District 5.
Here.
District 6. Is there a representative from Bartholomew County online today? Okay. District 7.
I think that's us.
We have two districts. So can I get verbal confirmation that you're here? Thank you. District 8. Is there anyone online from Vanderburgh County or from District 8? Okay. And District 9.
Here.
All right. With those confirmations, we do meet quorum, so we are able to go ahead and start our meeting. Thank you all for joining us. So last week we did send out the meeting minutes. So this is what our first action for this morning. We did print them out. They were on the back table for your review. They were also sent last week. If there were are there any questions for the meeting minutes, or are we able to approve them as is? Once approved, if approved, it will go on our website, on the technical panel website for the general public for viewing. Is there anyone that agrees to move approving the minutes?
No. District 5, it's got Dan Stewart and my name is not Ann.
Okay,
Could be.
You could, but it's not.
Amy will go ahead and get that corrected for you.
Have that. No, I don't want to be that wicked.
Sorry.
You got an Andy, he's down. Anybody?
Are there any other discrepancies noted in the meeting minutes? Hearing none, we will get your name corrected. I do apologize for that. It'll be changed for District 5 to Miss Amy Ayers. Are we able to approve the minutes with that correction? Okay. Can I get a second? Second. Thank you. We'll get that correct. So on the website, we have also posted a few of the documents that will be up for discussion today. They are under the support document section on our panel website. Those documents are going to include the statewide survey that the group conducted to get some data back on how many mobiles are within the state and how they are inspected. The second document is going to be the proposed amendments. Thank you all for participating in that. Those will be the two documents that will be up for review today. And then later on this afternoon, we will go into the more technical side of looking at our technical software that we are looking to build out. So as we start this meeting, please be advised that this is a public meeting in accordance with open door law that is being live streamed to the public and recorded. The recording will be archived and available to the public for no less than 90 days. By attending and participating in this meeting, you acknowledge and consent to the live streaming and recording of the meeting, including your image, voice, and any contributions you make. Thank you. So the first document that you all have, and you all have access to it online as well, is going to be the survey that was conducted. So over the past 3 weeks, IDOH conducted a survey in partnership with the work group here on how many mobiles are operating within the state of Indiana. 81 of the 95 local health departments within the state participated. So for any of those who participated online, thank you for your information. It's truly helpful for the goal that we have for this work group. So the information on the spreadsheet will include the county, the number of mobile retail food establishments they have licensed in their county. Are the reports online? What is their inspection schedule? Do they conduct announced visits or unannounced visits? Do they have a single tier permitting system or a multi-tier permitting system? If they did have a multi-tier permitting system, we asked them for an explanation of what that looks like for their county. And then we asked if they require an in-county commissary. And if they do, or if they don't, we ask for a brief explanation. This this data that we received was sent out to the committee last week. And I would like to open it up to any questions that you may have received, or if you need some additional time to review the information.
The local public health surveys they have on there as one of the questions is the number of mobile inspections completed by each county. Do you have access to that data too?
I
do
do
not,
not,
how many
but
inspections
we can
this-
partner. Is this through HFI?
Yeah, it's that local health department that goes out. So it does have specifically the mobiles. And so I think that data would be helpful too, to look at the proportion of inspections that are completed per county versus their number of mobiles. Just as a kind of be able to scope how many we're going to be
Yes.
expected to do.
I agree. I do acknowledge that there might be some overlap in the data because we did ask for license in your county as this is their home base versus they come for temporary events. So we know that our numbers may be a little skewed. But overall, the average number, I believe, was 4,500 mobiles within the state of Indiana by the end of the year would have at least come into the state, if not more. So we said local health services data.
Yeah, the local health survey, I'll pull up that information and send it to you, and so it's the exact.
The number of mobile inspections completed.
Yeah, statewide.
But that only refers to, that doesn't include temporaries, so
But
that
that's-
distinction needs to be
The
made.
number of inspections, or is it the number of permits issued per
I
month?
thought it was inspections that were
think it-
specific to mobiles.
I think it might be permits because I have to put those numbers in every month. I could be wrong.
Well, they do ask for permits, but I think they also ask for inspection.
Okay.
I didn't
We'll look to
remember it
see if they're
separated
both,
out.
so I'll
Yeah.
write both down. So the number of inspections versus the number of permits.
Yes.
Is there any way that we can clarify the difference between a temporary and a mobile? Because just because they're in a truck does not mean that they're a mobile. Like Four Jacks and Jessup's Carnivals, they don't have commissaries. They don't meet the requirements of a mobile.
Right.
And you keep bringing up they're temporary. They're not temporary. They are temporary.
But they are but temporaries are mobiles by definition, so and temporaries would be a subcategory of mobiles.
I don't understand where you.
Because the definition of mobile is anything that's mobile, of anything that's movable.
Right, but if they
So,
don't
but
meet the
we-
rest of the code,
Right.
then they're not mobile.
But according to this, to be considered mobile, you just have to be movable. So everything temporary plus what we normally consider mobiles going to a commissary are mobiles. Everything is mobile.
But most
But-
temporaries.
but
don't go to
temporaries-
But wouldn't it
commissary.
be based on like how you permit that? Like I know for us, we permit a mobile, it has to be plumbed all the way, hand sink, 3-bay sink,
Right.
commissary kitchen or not.
I'm with you on that. I'm on the same page, but
Right.
according to the regulation,
Right.
the definition of the regulation, temporaries are mobiles. So in my mind, what we were discussing on the way down here is that temporaries are actually a subcategory of mobile. So
Mhm.
what we really need is another subcategory of mobile to distinguish what we typically would call mobile. So for instance,
So I see where we're going. So it just for clarification, so a mobile is also a retail food establishment. So
Right.
it's tiered, I would say. So I wrote this note down because this is something that we'll have to clarify. And our lawyer is at this time, he is had a prior engagement. So we'll take this note down and we'll discuss with him because some of these are IC code. We can't easily change them. So I'll go ahead and write that note down. But ultimately, all of it still falls under a retail food establishment, but I understand the confusion between temporary and then the definition of a mobile, because it can be almost interchanged, and we discussed that as well, so.
Mariah, is this something we could also table and have as part of the discussion for the amendments to HB
I don't know,
1577?
the definition of mobile is in this bill,
I'm
but the
talking about
definition
the
of
difference
temple.
between,
Okay,
I mean, just at least for discussion, I think that's a good discussion to have during that time.
okay. So we'll
Might be the
table
only
that.
opportunity we can make any distinct discussion.
Well, I mean, I'm confused too with Kelly, because yeah, if you look up the code, it says that, a mobile has skids, has wheels on skids, mounted on a vehicle, or is a marine vessel. So how do you say a tent set up at a temporary event is a mobile? I mean, I don't understand where that's coming from either.
So we'll go ahead, and I wrote this down, and then we'll table it for when we get to the amendment portion, and then that's something that we can
Yeah,
discuss because
absolutely.
that's fair.
Can I just interject one other thing, what Lisa said? The mobile also has to meet all of the requirements for a retail food establishment. So if it doesn't have floors, walls, and ceilings,
Right.
it's not a mobile. It doesn't go to a commissary, it's not a mobile.
Were there any other points that we wanted to add, or any other items for clarification that we need other than what Janelle had mentioned, partnering with local health services to get that data on number of inspections versus number of permits for the state? Okay. So as far as the data goes, 23 of the 81 LSUs that were surveyed post their inspections online. So that's only 28% of local health departments post their inspection reports online. 54 of the 81 local health departments surveyed offer a single tier permit schedule. So they just have that one single fee. And that is 66% of the local health departments that were surveyed only have the one tier system. Only 3 of the 81 local health departments surveyed require an in-county commissary or servicing area, and that's only 3%. All 81 of the local health departments conducted unannounced visits after their initial pre-operational inspection report.
Can you say that again, Mariah?
Yeah.
Can you say that again?
All of it.
Nope, just the last one.
All local health departments conduct unannounced visits after the pre-licensing or the licensing inspection is conducted, based on the information that was provided on the spreadsheet. Okay, any last questions about the spreadsheet or any other additional information we'd like to get from our local health department partners? Well, that jumps us right into our proposed amendments. So thank you. We only received 3 of the districts to provide information from us. I tried to compile the information as best that I could. Some of the information you provided, you won't see on this document because it's actually for rulemaking for what would actually go into our IAC. But what I put on the document here is what we're actually looking to propose as an amendment to our representatives that is due before Thanksgiving. So this is what we'd like to talk about now. If you do not have a copy of the House bill, there's a copy on the back table. There is also a copy online for those who have joined us online. If you go to our website, there's a copy of the House bill there as well. So for this amendment, I categorized it into the sections as well as subsections. Section 6 is where we'll start. Section 6 can be found on page 2. Yep, it is.
It's bottom of page 3.
Nope, So section, there are multiple sections, so this is how it gets a little confusing. If you look on page 2, at the top, you'll see section 4, section 5, and then section 6. And then it starts chapter 28.
Oh, I see.
Everyone sees that?
Yes.
Okay, so that's kind of how I categorized it a little bit. I kind of went in order of the House bill itself. Under section 6, subsection 4A, we are looking to add something to this section. So if we go to 4A, if I talk fast, please slow me down. Once I'm on a roll, I am on a roll. Please, please, please slow me down. Section 4A, it just establishes what is required of the work group, and it was proposed that we also add established retrofit or revocation of license procedures for mobile retail food establishments that do not meet minimum standards.
What does retrofit mean?
So, and for me, I put that too, is for counties that might have approved something that other counties, we have a lot of that where there's disagreement on things, like where, Flag Masters being one example. Everything is open, they stand outside and they do, preparation there, and it doesn't quite meet the standards that we would have based on the food code. So we couldn't license it as a mobile in our county, we licensed it as a temporary. So I think there's going to be some disagreements on things, and ours too. We're not by no means perfect, but we are going to have something that we can meet once we get a consensus of everybody and agreement on how these should look and what the parameters should be. So would those need to be fixed and brought up to, especially since they're going to be exposed to a lot more opportunities for vending. So it's just fixing some things and how that process would look.
Is there anything we would like to add to something that we'd like the work group to identify and collaborate on? Or is this verbiage acceptable?
Still don't understand what retrofit means.
I circled that. Subsection 4A2. We are looking to add criteria for follow-up procedures for a failed inspection to the requirements of the work group. That's something that we all discussed during our first meeting. It was a concern that each of us, I won't say each of us, that several members of the work group held. Yeah.
No, I'm in agreement with that for sure.
Are there any opportunities with that statement? Subsection 4B3.
Mariah, can we go back? Because
Yeah.
I think one of the things that we need to discuss before we get to 4A is 6.1. It's effective for a year. We need to clarify
Where's 6.1?
page 3.
Bottom of page 3, section.
Because I mean, our licenses go from March 1st to
Right.
February 28th. So we all need to be in the same, we're all gonna have to change our ordinances and everything to be on the same.
Yeah, because ours go January to summer, but yours
Yeah.
don't.
And ours go April to March 31st.
I think I wrote that down on here. It's somewhere in this document for further clarification, but I don't know where I put it.
Like in the renewal section, there's another part about renewals.
Yep, I asked that in the,
I just was, because you were following this, that's why I had notes, so that's why I wanted to go.
gotcha.
And then the definition of retrofit is to upgrade an existing product, structure, or system with new parts, equipment, or technology that wasn't available when it was originally manufactured. Also to improve the efficiency, safety, functionality, to adapt the new needs and evolving standards.
That's getting added and there's confusion on it. Could we add a definition to the thing of failed inspection too, like what's failed inspection? Is that a priority? Is it high? 5 violations.
Yeah.
Have some
Or
disagreement on that.
Well, if retrofit means to upgrade, you have retrofit or revocation. Don't we really want both?
So instead of or, we would say and.
I would think,
I don't know if it needs,
I guess I would think you'd only revocate the license if it didn't meet any of this.
We have that further down somewhere, revocation too.
okay, so we're looking to add a definition of retrofit. And then for subsection right below 4A2, what is a failed inspection? So that is actually a really good talking point. What is a failed inspection? What does that look like? Is it egregious? Is it a history of non-compliance? What is a failed inspection? And obviously we can change that verbiage a little bit more for this House bill. So maybe we could say a history of non-compliance. What are our thoughts?
Well, I mean, if you're closing the mobile, it's failure. But I mean, if they don't have their safe certification on site, I wouldn't consider that, even though, priority,
Right.
whatever, I would not consider that. History of non-compliance or,
Imminent health hazard.
you know how like we say on imminent health hazard at the bottom, whatever the regulatory authority deems unfit or deems an immediate hazard. So like if you come, you show up in Fort Wayne and then you show up in Hamilton County and you've drove for 2 hours and all your food's been at 62 degrees for 3 hours to get down here, I'm going to send you home. So I would deem that a health hazard. So maybe using that same verbiage as we do for imminent health hazard in that last section where it says, regulatory authority deems this a hazard, maybe, because it's going to be subjective. I mean, what Janelle decides out in the field versus what Amy decides out in the field, I don't know.
Some imminent health hazards, I think, could probably be corrected on site. Like it may just be simple,
Could.
just throwing out a batch of food or something. that
Could
just
be,
didn't meet
but I'm
temps.
saying when you get over there and you're like, oh my God, it's on fire and all the food is out of temp and you have no refrigeration, immediately I'm gonna be like, bye. But if they have one cooler down and they've made that decision, I have to be able to be, that authority on site to make that, but just using the same verbiage as the code maybe in there.
I would ask that it not be too specific though, because there are situations and there's events where we have larger events that we don't have room for risk. And we
Right.
could touch on that, but I think there should be some broad language that on the discretion of the inspector, or the local health department.
Well, and you're also gonna have, I inspected it and I let them operate with the refrigerator not working. And they could go get a
Right.
case, but Amy's gonna say, no, your refrigeration has to be working. And they're gonna come after us, is what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
Well, they said we could do this.
Yeah. Would it be fair to maybe say it meets the definition of an imminent health hazard and cannot be corrected on site? And also be witnessed by the inspector.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
probably a little bit better than I think she's right. Like if you can go to Marion and maybe be able to fix it on site or gas up your refrigerator and then 2 hours later you're back in the tank and, I don't know. So
The corrected on site though is so vague and I think it opens it up like, well, all our food's out of temperature. We could go buy more food and then we have to babysit them at these inspections.
Yeah.
And so I'd like if as much open-ended as it could be. And then we do that through training and communication, what that looks like, rather than maybe have it as in writing as part of the ordinance or anything like that. Because I think there's always going to be situations.
So don't be too vague, but don't be too specific.
Yeah.
Got it.
Right.
Got it.
Michelle.
and I don't know if this is the appropriate place, but like, is there a way to document that if we do close that as an imminent health hazard, there's a way to maybe notify or document on the truck at that time. So then if they don't go to Marion County and be like, well, who cares what Hamilton said? Whoop, I'm going over there in this thing that we have a way, like, I know when you do an embargo, you just clamp all the stuff down and be like, too bad, so sad. But is there a way to have, this must be notified across the board, this must be notified to, surrounding counties, or I don't know. I don't know how you would
I
do
think
that,
would be a
but you
good
see what
talking
I'm
point
saying?
For the system, that way, and we'll talk about that this afternoon.
Yeah.
So if you can like keep that, talking
It
point
will-
in mind,
it will
it'll be,
It will leak out. Well,
that'll be really
Yeah.
helpful to have, in our digital system.
Right.
Steve?
Yeah, I was just saying, whatever's decided, just as long as it's a clear statewide criteria, that way enforcement's uniform and there's the same due process for any follow-up or suspension of permits or closures. But that was my question too, is what is a failed inspection? So once that's clarified, as long as it's uniform throughout the state.
Thanks, Steve. So what we'll do is we'll take this information back, and we will revisit. We'll go back to the drawing board a little bit, reword some of the things, send it back out to, can't do that. Because we have to be officially meeting. So during our next meeting, we'll kind of have like a more clear rough draft. And then that could be something that we vote upon, once we are able to clarify a few more of the things, like what a failed inspection is. So any more questions about subsection 4A or 4A2?
Yeah, but can we have a quick discussion on 5, fee, about the fee? So I think that it's went through some language changes before it was passed, but as I'm reading it now, even a prepackaged ice cream truck or cart would need to be paying $450. And so that will be very problematic. And so I just didn't know if that was really, it seems to have taken away any opportunity for us to have it, because then it gets just to the inspection fee and the combined fee of those. Is that what the intent was? Because that doesn't seem very business friendly to me, to vendors to do that. I could understand some for the other ones, but that one is specifically something that affects us.
So for section 5, we did skip a few other sections, so we'll jump back to that. But I did have some thoughts for section 5, and I also did I added some of the input that you all have provided us as well, because we do recognize the challenges that might be associated with the 450. So we do want to partner with all of you as well as our state legislators, and have some dialogue, I would say, to see if there's any opportunity for, like we had discussed, a tier or something of that nature.
Well, I mean, are you expecting an ice cream truck to meet the mobile requirements of having a hand sink and a 3-compartment sink when they're
But it's
filling
for
prepackaged?
prepackaged, so it
Well, I
doesn't,
know.
yeah. So that would be,
If that's considered a mobile, how do you differentiate? Like, how do you differentiate here?
yeah.
How would an ice cream?
So
truck
that's not
be
something that we've
differentiated?
clarified even in our current code. Because they're still technically a mobile because they meet the definition, even though they're still, a mobile is still a retail food establishment. So it kind of lumps.
Right.
They're a mobile retail food establishment. So, but based on their menu, that kind of designates like what's required of it. So it's all prepackaged, there's no food handling, nothing like that, then they don't need to have the mop sink. Well, none of them will have a mop sink, but just in general, so.
Same as hot dog carts too. That is like one of the
Yeah.
things that, why the tiered thing for us works, because we can define anything that's not in the code, but.
So just jumping back, because we will dive into section 5, because I did have some notes on here for section 5. So still jumping back to section 4, under section 6, subsection 4B3. There are a few talking points that were noted in the amendment proposals. Let me find that as well. Section 4.
What is that?
B3. It is on page 3. It's at the top of page 3 under subsection B. where require at least a semi-annual inspection of mobile retail food establishments to ensure compliance with the standards. So the first item that was needing a little more clarification is a semi-annual inspection needed for mobile units that operate seasonally, which is typically 6 months or less, or for mobile retail food establishments that are low risk, that only serve non-TCS and prepackaged foods like an ice cream truck. What truck meet the criteria for a semi-annual inspection, and can this be clarified in the bill? I know that was kind of a mouthful, but it does mention semi-annual inspections in the bill. But do all trucks meet this? Does it require further clarification, or are we okay with it as written?
I think me personally, if you're doing like a tiered system, it would make sense to kind of categorize maybe an ice cream truck only needs one, but if we're only doing, we only have one statewide permit, it would be kind of a mess to try to pull individuals out that aren't categorized like as a menu one. So to me, like just logistically, I think it'd be easier to do everybody semi-annually. If it's just the 450, we're done. But if we're categorizing them, charging them a different fee based off that, then I think that would make sense. I mean, we're held by, we can only, there's any code that says we're not supposed to charge more than what it costs to provide our services. So, if we're spending 2 hours on one unit versus 10 minutes on another unit, there's kind of a disparity there.
Okay.
Which I don't think anybody's spending 2 hours on a unit. That's obviously an exaggeration.
Nope, no. They'd be by. Well, and I have a question here. So I just don't want, like, when we get through this, so we're out at an event, right? And it's Dan's ice cream truck, and he's like, no, girl, I've already had my inspection. Can't come on my truck. Don't do it. Because when I go out and I do an event, I'm going to visit all of them. I stop and I visit an HBV. I stop and I visit everybody to make sure that we're in compliance. I just don't want to be out and I don't know how we're going to word that, or even if it's something that we word. I know you're going to say semi-annual, but even now we get ones that be like, you've already seen me multiple times. Right. And I'm going to see you again and you're going to love this face. But I just want to be clear that, like, I'm not going to be hurting public health to say, whoops, you've already had your one ice cream inspection. Gotta go. Cause I can come up on something and now they're selling, a full-on barbecue meal with, here's your ice cream.
Yeah.
So they do change. So I just want to kind of interject there, like, even though it says semi-annual, that's the minimum standard, but I may see you 550 times between this time and this time.
So it does say at least semi-annual.
Right, but I
and
mean,
then
maybe
in
we
our
bold
code-
that in, like this is just the minimum, not necessarily for us, but for the mobile people themselves, like that's the least,
Okay.
but
And then we still have a right to go on their truck at any reasonable time. I don't remember the code section for that one, but that is in our code at any reasonable time. As a regulatory authority, we are able to get. on
right.
to-
I just
go
want to
to-
make it clear that,
Okay.
it's not set in stone that it's only 2 inspections and that's like all you get and like you're willy-nilly for the rest of the 8 months that you're out there.
The other part of that would be just if they go to Marion County and they get inspected and they come to Hamilton County, and Amy does another inspection, is that going to count as their 2 inspections?
At least, yep. I would say it would.
Okay.
They just had 2 different.
And that could be in
jurisdictions.
one
Even if it was
day.
all in one.
That could be in one day and then
Yes.
for the rest of the 6 months, you're lost. I mean,
Yeah, but see, if they're at the Indy 500, they're at Gen Con, they're at the
right,
WNBA championship, we're gonna inspect them.
right. And I am
Part of
too.
owning a mobile retail food establishment. It's
I am too. Just a question. I mean, I don't know how we would even
Well,
get into it, but
So because of that, I don't know that we need to back down semi-annual. I feel like leaving
Right,
leaving it. There's no reason to back it down because we all agree we're probably all gonna inspect them if they come in
More.
our counties. More than
What if we don't
semi-annual.
use
So
them?
if we back it down, I think that'll just confuse it.
And if we, well, to Janelle's point, and if we implement a tiered system, I mean, there may be discretion where we don't want to inspect them at all because we have very limited resources. We have to choose wisely how we deploy them. I
Right.
mean,
Well, and the thing with ice cream, and I think some of the state's code, it totally exempt it. It's either frozen and you can serve it, or it's melted and you can't serve it. There's not,
Regulates itself sort of.
Yeah.
So they would be considered retail food establishments, which is in our IC code. Sharon, if you want to look up that code number. And that's not something we added in our IAC code, which is our regular food code, because it's already a state law. And those are going to be the gas stations that just sell potato chips. They're just retail food establishments. They don't do anything. They don't have,
Their food establishments versus retail.
I'm sorry, food establishment, because it's all prepackaged. I'll have to look to see, because they have TCS food, because it's ice cream. I'll have to see how it falls under that definition.
That would be IC 16-18-2-137.
I'll take a look at that. And that's food establishments.
I think that semi-annual inspection, though, once we get to the point, which is way off of the communication to the mobile vendors, that really needs to be stressed to them by IDOH about to support the inspectors that are out
Right.
there.
right.
I think that would be a good venue to make sure that's out there.
And I'm gonna throw this out, and if you've covered it later in here, do they have the option to opt out
Opt out
of the 450? I don't want to be a statewide licensed mobile. I do all my events in Marion County. I am not interested in paying $450 for my mobile. I just want to have a mobile license in Marion
Yep, I
County.
added that down in section 5 as
Okay.
just a few options we can kind of toss out there as a group and see what we collectively agree on before we have dialogue with our state representatives. So the next section was adding inspection responsibilities and authorization fees for temporary events for fairs, festivals, and special events. And then I kind of listed out some of the major events that come to Indiana. You all are affected, we are affected. So I do hear the concerns because it's not just affecting one local health department at the state level. It will impact us as well. So when we think of inspection responsibilities and authorization fees, what are your thoughts on those two? An authorization fee is not a permit fee.
But is it an inspection fee? Because aren't those prohibited?
An inspection fee?
Yeah.
That's how I
That
read
wasn't
it.
allowed in it because it was said that it could be combined and it would not include, it could either include the inspection fees or not. But the plan review fees, I don't know what the authorization fee is, but for me, if we could charge a fee when they apply to be in our county.
Yeah,
Well, and see, and I thought that too, but I thought maybe instead of like a verification fee, because we're gonna have a lot of work trying to figure out if they've been inspected and licensed
Yes.
somewhere else. So to me, I feel like we should be able to recoup something for verifying that they actually have been licensed and inspected in another. I mean, and even all the inspections that we're all gonna end up doing at these events, we're inspecting them and we're not getting any reports for
Exactly.
that.
Right.
exactly what.
And that to me seems like an unfunded mandate, but.
But to be devil's advocate, you're already telling a mobile vendor, you're gonna have to pay $450 and they think that's everything. And then now we're charging extra fees. That's gonna make people very upset. I totally understand. But yeah, we're losing out on money and our time is very valuable. But yeah, I don't know what the answer is. And I don't know what exactly, is considered an authorization fee.
Yeah, and in there are cities ordinances now have, Carmel has a fee,
Yeah.
Westfield has a fee, Fishers has a fee. So now they're paying fee after fee after fee. So,
If they're gonna participate in an event like that, like, we do a lot with the Parks Department. And the Parks Department charges them an authorization or a fee to
Yeah.
come in. I was just thinking, well, if we can have that, then we just tweak that fee up just enough to cover some time spent for inspections.
Well, and with us, if they do stuff in Marion County, they have to get what's called a limited duration license. They all have to pay $75.
What's it called?
Limited duration license.
And does that go to the city? Okay. So the city has also.
So does this mean that we're not gonna be able to do that? You know, say, okay, you got that fee, they paid this permitting fee, you can't apply any of those fees to your event that you come in.
But we have the same thing with the parks. The park,
Yeah,
parks
Yeah.
charges a fee, and they have to pay the city, pay us a fee.
yeah.
We have no say so in what the city requires or the,
Oh, and I understand that. I'm just bringing it up that
Yeah.
if somebody wants to do only their events in Marion County and they don't want a statewide fee, I think they should be able to opt out.
I do too.
I agree.
I do too, because some people, like we've said ourselves, some people only want Hamilton County.
Yeah.
Some people only go to the Indy 500. Some people only do that. So if you're in Hamilton County with a mobile permit of, 125 or whatever, why would I pay $450 and never use it?
Or even if you pay, so I don't know what it is, 150 or 200. The mobile fee.
All over the place, yeah.
So it's either 150 or 200.
Right.
Well, I have two mobiles, I do temporary. So you pay, so I would rather pay the 150 and then I can go to Hamilton County and pay you a temporary event fee.
Sure.
That's still not gonna add up to 450.
Right.
Absolutely.
I mean, we do have some trucks that travel all over. That's great. Remember during COVID, we had up on 65, you had a million of them. But we have maybe 15 that are like, I don't want to do this. And then on top of, so if you say, okay, no, flat fee 450, and now I got to pay Carmel $1,000 to show up in Carmel, or I got to pay $500 for Fishers. Now I'm in thousands of dollars, which I know we can't do anything about the city ordinances, but they should have an option to opt out and get whatever their county fee is. And it doesn't mean everybody, but it just means the ones that have no intention on traveling the state.
okay. So devil's advocate, I think the discussion is valid, but I think we should also think of in the event that we're unable to get that portion of it amended, what is the backup for that?
Then they're
We
all
can
gonna get
ask,
temporary.
but if that, in the event that doesn't happen and there is a statewide license at where the operator does not have the option to opt into just, I want to operate right here in Marion County, what does that look like for the operator? I think that's something that we should have to still have dialogue about as well.
I'm putting in a glass case in my office that only has a pass through, and I'm being very serious about that. This is
Yeah,
some of the people we deal with as vendors are very passionate, but everybody's losing money right now. So I do think there's a lot of risk with that. So I think there needs to be communication at a bigger level to them. And I will be like, this isn't us, we're doing it. And so I'm just being transparent in that. I was gonna say though, too, my heartburn doesn't come from temporaries. My heartburn comes from them operating every day in our county. That is the one that is really concerning to me because we already are dealing with temporaries. It's the people who are on the fringe of the events, the people who are operating every day. And then we have more risk that's associated with it.
right.
One's got some good videos of someplace. I mean, they're just dumping down storm drains and things like that. So we're bringing a lot of issues into it. And those are the ones where it could possibly be 5 days a week that we're going to be having to monitor, inspect, and do things like that. I think the temporary is manageable, although it's going to be a loss of revenue and a loss of coverage for inspection. But I think the daily operation is going to be problematic. But if we just had where they could opt out, me as a vendor, I would get a Hamilton County license and I'd get a Marion County license. I'd still be paying less if
Yeah.
that was an option.
I'd still be under 450.
I mean,
And-
this was to support small businesses, and small businesses should be able to make their decisions that would work best for them and based on their locale. I could see some other counties where there might be smaller counties and they don't have as large of space that they take up, where you pass through frequently. I think of like Northwest Indiana, it's like I'm from there, so it's like you just travel through and you're going through several counties. So I could see where that would be a benefit for the vendors up there, but for when we have the larger ones, or if it's just between these two, I think it's really just to support small business to be able to have that option rather than overregulate.
You guys are keeping me on my toes.
Well, and then I had another thought, but, so like if you don't, so if you don't want to get the 450 and the state has decided that's it, there's no other option than the 450. And then at the local level, they're just like, okay, I won't get a mobile permit. Now I'm a mobile, but I'm just going to get all temporary permits, which is fine. There's nothing you can do about that. But I don't know, maybe there's some wordage in there that like, if you meet the criteria of that, you're that. I don't know how you would do that really, but I just know like with my trucks, they're like, I'm not paying 450, and if that's the flat fee, I'll just get a temporary every time with you.
So is limiting the number of times they can be a temporary something the group would entertain?
I don't think so.
I'm just gonna
No,
pitchfork. Got it.
no, it will be. No.
We do that with our local ordinance already. They get 30 days. It's been like it since well before I was there back in the 90s, but
Cumulative, 30 days.
per calendar year.
Any place in the county, because we do it, temporary cannot be in one address for more than 30 days an entire year, but they can move around to different addresses.
By like ownership, basically.
Okay.
So change ownership, but
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's just something like we need to look into changing our ordinance, that maybe that's the way we go with that. If,
Well, I think this whole thing is gonna affect everyone's ordinance.
no, I mean, on top of,
Absolutely.
you know, like if you're not gonna pay the 450 and like, you're like, I'm flat not gonna do it because I only stay here, now I'm gonna get temporaries, but ours are only in conjunctions with an event. So then am I gonna be like hunting down everybody every day?
Yep.
Because now everybody's jam-packed at Tractor Supply every weekend and like, no, you know, so you're gonna put, I think, just thinking moving forward, you also have to think about the inspector's time and the inspector stuff, even if we can't, you know, because you might say 450 and that's great, but you go home on Friday night at 4:30 and we're out Saturday and Sunday trying to hunt everybody down. So it's just tough.
And the other thing that I'm gonna add to Janelle's point on local businesses and, you know, how much they're spending, a lot of our mobiles, it's a part-time job.
Right.
They have full-time jobs and they just have this mobile that they go to the barbecue event on Friday or Saturday. So they're not gonna, that's a whole reason they have it, is to make extra money.
Right.
And then you're charging them all these extra fees. I just feel like you're gonna have a huge backlash.
So for disclaimer, we did not decide on the 450. As Janelle mentioned earlier, like the fee has changed. Like there was supposed to be a software was supposed to be developed. And then once there was no funding for the software, then they tacked on a fee for the state. Like it, so disclaimer, I know.
No,
Brian
we
will tell
know
for 30,
that.
But disclaimer.
We know that.
I
We're
did
just
not.
saying, as field workers, it's gonna be really tough to try to manage that with, you know, if they all decide, hey, we're gonna, you know, pitchfork it out, we're not paying 450. Now we're in the county trying to hunt down everybody that, you know, didn't want to do that. And you can't say they don't operate illegally because we all know they do. So, you know, maybe there's something in there that if you don't pay the fee or it's not a tiered fee and we catch you more than whatever, you know, I don't know. I don't know how that would even work, but just something to think about, because I feel like for me, I work so many weekends and, you know, I'm at 10 o'clock on Friday night finding a pizza place in my Lowe's parking lot that we never even knew existed. So, you know, and then we're like, go to the state and get your 450 and pay. They're just not going to do it. So.
I think I agree with a lot of the comments too, that the authorization fees will be another added fee to the operator.
Mariah, I have a question. Sorry to intervene. As currently written, is it being interpreted that a temporary fee would be allowed in addition to the 450? Is that what we're saying? Or
No, so a temporary is different, than a mobile that operates like year round. Well, some temporaries are like popping up year round. So it's two separate things, and that was kind of the discussion earlier. Well, the temporary versus a temporary mobile versus a mobile. So we still haven't hashed that out just yet.
So like in Marion County, just because you have a mobile truck or trailer,
right?
doesn't mean you have a mobile license with us.
Okay.
They get temporaries because they don't want to get a mobile license.
Well, and we just, in Elkhart, we distinguish it. So like if it's a temporary event, you're getting a temporary license. We do have mobile trucks. So mobile trucks can operate without being at an event. They can set up on the street corner and sell whenever they want. If they want to go to the fair, for instance, that's a 14-day long event. They cannot return to their commissary every 24 hours. So they have to get a temporary license because they are stationary. There's no physical way for them to pull out and go to their commissary. So they get a temporary license along with all the other units that are just temporary that travel into the county for that event and then go to another county for a different event next door in the following weeks. So we distinguish them as farther, whether or not they're doing an actual event versus whether they're setting up on the street corner, whether they get the mobile license or the temporary license.
But were you asking about like if they went to the Indy 500 or went to a specific fair, that they had to pay an additional fee for that?
No, I was just understanding the temporary permit. I think
Okay.
as it was written, the original intent was that that's the permit that's available and there's nothing else available, but it makes sense. I just,
Okay.
thank you for walking me through it.
Well, maybe that's something we could talk about is, do you want a mobile where you're going to operate on a daily basis? Or you're just going to do events? And the people that are doing events, whether they're in a trailer or a tent or a mobile, they get a temporary license.
I don't think the law allows for that.
So would it be fair? So I know we already have something that kind of outlines temporary, but would it be fair to get specific and say mobile, a temporary mobile retail food establishment versus a temporary? Like, does that make?
Well, see, that's why I said, I felt like a temporary is a category of a mobile unit. So maybe we need a second category that would be more like a perpetual mobile unit, which would be one that would go around, or do we call it a transitory mobile unit? Although that might.
I think Michigan did that. Isn't that
Michigan
what
has
Michigan did?
transitory, and that does mean temporary, so that may be a little confusing, but a perpetual mobile unit would be one that can perpetually go around and set up without being at an event. Do we just need a different subcategory where a temporary would be in conjunction with events, but the second category would be where they have to have the commissary and be able to set up without an event.
Okay. So even though they say they're mobile, you would say, well, what kind of mobile are you? That's what we're
And
saying,
that,
right?
and then that would shoot you down which path you go.
Okay.
So I have over 500 mobiles in my county and I have 131 on deck. I can't do much more. I mean, I'm honestly to get down to extra categories and to be like, oh, are you this? Well, we're just starting a business. We don't know. And so I think it's going to get pretty muddy if we go too far on that. But I mean, I wanted to be clear, but I think that's going to be a lot for them to make their determination. And if they decide, what if they're in midway, they're like, oh, now I want to be this. And so that from a paperwork perspective and by paperwork, I mean, computer perspective and processing and fees, that's going to get rough for us.
Yeah, and I think for us.
I would agree.
Yeah, I think for
I would
us,
agree
we
with
have a
that.
temporary permit and then we have a mobile permit. So if I go into like, are you a temporary mobile? Now I'm gonna have to change, of course, my permitting process. So, and I mean, I can, I guess, but I just think that you're either this or that.
Okay.
And as well, so we have in our ordinance that if you're an organizer, you have to register the event with us 30
Right.
days prior. And as an organizer, if you're having an event like the county fair, which is ours 10 days, they have to provide sewer, water, electricity. So they don't need to go back to their commissary. So we let them use their mobiles at our fair. Or at Gen Con or at the.
Well, and that brings up a question too, because in 726-488, we talk about special intervals, like being approved by the local health department if you are going to decide, if you can't go back to the commissary nightly. So if I'm gonna say, so we just had the Live golf tournament, right? And we had a couple of mobiles from our county, but we also had mobiles from out of state. So they can't get out. Like once you're in and you're stuck. So if I'm saying, yes, I'm showing up to the Live golf tournament, which will happen again this year, am I, as the local health department, going to approve that they don't go back to their commissary nightly with this written approval for a special interval? But then that's not necessarily going to be, kosher for her at the 500 because they demand hookup. You know what I mean? Like, so I mean, that's something else for me too, to think about, because it's in there. Do I write that up for them? And then that's going to be accepted across the board. You know what I mean? Because they're going to be like, well, you said I didn't have to go back to the commissary, for 2 nights. So, but now I end up over in Hendricks County and that ain't going to fly. So what do we do? That's just another thing. So,
Okay.
I mean, I could say it's fine, but then you could say, no, it's not fine. And then now we have another fight. So.
Okay.
And it's in the code, 488.
It is. Okay, so
Some of that might be event specific too, like there might be events where they
Right.
can provide everything, the other one might not be able to, so they might be able to do it one, but not the next, just because.
Right, but I know
There's
as
stuff
the
we have to deal
mobile
with.
vendor, I'm gonna be like, well, Fisher's allowed me to do it, and here's my special interval permit, but it isn't gonna fly. So we just need to be across the board specific, I
And
think.
there's some guidance documents out there, Mariah, from the FDA and Conference for Food Protection. There's a mobile matrix. It's
Mhm.
based on menu and what equipment they
Yep.
need to have and servicing. But I think it's the one from the Conference for Food Protection. It says if they cannot return for service as they're supposed to, then they need to be treated as a temporary.
down. So for the sake of keeping moving forward, because I was like, oh, we've only done like 3 bullet points and we still have so many more. So writing down all of our notes, and then we'll take this back and then we'll hash it out and then we'll get it back out to the group for review, not discussion, for review. And then we'll all meet back up probably by the end of the month or early October. So the last portion in this section, we're looking to add and establish a license revocation process, administrative hearing / court processes for mobile retail food establishments with a history of non-compliance to requirements of the work group. Doesn't have to be something we hash out today, but it's something we want to add. That's something that we have to establish collectively together to an amendment in House Bill 1577. Do we agree that collectively we should create that?
Yeah, can that go with 4A2 above? Can that go with 4A2 above?
Yep.
Okay.
Do we agree that we should move that to 4A2 versus 4B3?
I agree.
Fit better.
Yeah, that's good.
Good catch. All right, so a general amendment. This isn't there yet, but this was something that all 3 districts have brought up that turned in some paperwork for amendment proposals. Is we're looking to add criteria to identify complaint or foodborne illness outbreak investigation procedures and mobile retail food establishment responsibilities to the responsibilities of the work group, which might go under a different section as well. But a lot of you have brought up when complaint comes in. So it comes in Hamilton County, but the truck is no longer in Hamilton County. It's in Allen County. how do we even address that?
What's
What
your
are,
statewide rule? You guys do the complaints.
Yeah.
Just like you're supposed to for the home-based vendor. Which every time I sent in a home-based vendor complaint, they got sent back to the county.
Yeah.
That would be established in the procedures. So we just have the language and establish that for whatever works for us.
Yeah.
okay, so we agree that we have to, oh, go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I feel like it kind of goes with 4A2 as well.
Okay.
Unless someone disagrees.
And of course, we'll clean up the language a little bit, but addressing foodborne illness investigations and complaints is major. So it should be addressed in the bill. Okay,
Sorry, I forgot my muzzle.
No, you can, they're not.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull the string again and.
for section 5, this is a hot talking point, but I feel like it needs to be addressed because when we send in this proposal, we want to hash out this section specifically. So please be nice to us as we hash out section 5. So section 5 does deal with the monetary value of the mobile retail food establishment statewide permit. So several of you have provided some options. We have also put some options in there. Again, nothing is a guarantee. We are just submitting this for to be amended if possible. It might revert back to the original. We do not know, but we would like to submit some suggestions to open dialogue to those who will hear us. So 1, 2, 3. I think there were 3. And then if you guys wanted to toss out another that we collectively agree on, that would be fair as well. So the first one is to update the payment schedule to quarterly or annually based on the number of permits issued to IDOH and indicate the payment remitted are to be utilized into a specific fund for the State Department of Health Food Protection Division to maintain software for statewide mobile retail food establishment database. So in layman's terms, we currently do not have a fund established in this bill for any money that's remitted to the state to go to. If we don't have a fund established, the fund goes to Gen Fund, which may not come back to us to continue having the software. So we have to have, so this is from IDOH, we did write this one. So we have to have somewhere in the bill that says this money has to go specifically to this for this. Or else Gen Fund. And we're all familiar with Gen Fund. So
Can you clarify the difference between, so the software expectations, when you're saying the software that it would go to, are you anticipating us all being on an same inspection software? Because that is concerning to us too.
yes and no. For regular retail food establishments, your software is your software. If you're on pen and paper, you're on pen and paper. We cannot change that for brick and mortar. But if we're talking about a statewide permit, and if we all want to communicate to each other, we have to operate on the same system because there's no way I can see your inspection reports for a mobile and you can't see ours or when we go to temporary events or state fair, anything like that. So it would only be mobile specific. And we're not asking you to log in and do your inspection report in the software. We might just ask when you're done with your inspection, please upload it. Like there might be a feature. And we don't want to get too detailed. Our system analyst team, they're not here right now. They'll be here later. But that would be the idea. So that way we can all see what we've all done. It's still your inspection software. You would just upload the
So we
data.
would duplicate, that's where my concern is, it would be the duplication of inspections. And we have a database that we keep up where we have our inspections. So that was what I'd like to consider is for all of us who are the larger ones that are probably going to be most affected by this. If we have a database that is up to date and doing that, if there would be some possibility of some kind of discussion on that, because we're looking at, we probably about thousands of inspections that are surrounded with mobiles from the pre-licensing period per year to the next inspection cycle. And so that is a lot of duplication even on that factor. So I think that needs discussion. I know it won't probably be specifically with this, but it would.
So as of right now, we haven't figured out another way to collect the information because I know that you guys are some of the larger counties and handle most of the some of the majority of temporary events. But then we have the Strawberry Festival, then we have the Covered Bridge Festival, which some of you have volunteered for the Covered Bridge Festival. How do I get their information? And most temporary event things, if they don't have the software, they're gonna do it on pen and paper. So how do we collect that? So it's gonna be double work for all of us. When we go to the state fair, we have 300 pieces of paper that we will also have to upload into the software system.
Well, I was just thinking, I mean, in theory, great. But I'll just use me as an example. I don't take my laptop in the field when I go to temporary events. So I'm on pen and paper, right? And then, you know, time for my health department, now I'm gonna double up my time by uploading all this to you. And then I gotta count it for me, because when I go back to my commissioners, they're like, well, you only did 200 inspections this year instead of 5,000 because I've uploaded it to you and here. But my boss is also not gonna turn around and say, hey, the next 3 hours after this event that you spend uploading all this, you know, to the statewide code, I don't get money for that. Like,
Exactly.
so, I mean, and I'm old, I'm not cheap. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not getting started out at $10 an hour. So now I'm gonna say it's gonna take me 3 more hours to do a 2-hour inspection just to upload it in the software, just to go home and then put it back in, you know, and then what about the 10-day till it goes public? I mean, is that something you're gonna put out there, or do I gotta spend another 3 hours in the office putting it in for it to go 10 days public? You know, so it just seems like it's more work for me for less money.
Yeah, for no money.
And then, you know, Amy Ballman's gonna be like, mm.
When you say the 10 days to go.
Well, like, so we
that's-
do our papers, we put it in, it goes
Mhm.
10, you know, it's 10 days, and then it goes out to the public online
Yeah.
for anybody to see that inspection. Like if I pull up, you know,
I didn't
Janelle's
factor
cookie
that
truck,
in when you guys
now I
post
have
it
10
online.
days.
Yeah, I didn't factor that in.
That is IC 1628-5.
Well, I knew about the 10 days,
Okay.
like release date. So like even for us, we don't post any of our things online. We're one of the ones that don't do it, transparency. But they wouldn't be able to contact our open records request until after the 10 days. But we don't go in and physically upload it to any system. So I didn't factor that in, that was extra time, because once we done with the inspection report, you hand it off to the operator. And then that's kind of the extent of how I DOH.
I just know there'll need to be some, however you build the software, which that's not my thing, but, you know, I'm not gonna be able to justify 8 mobile inspectors on every single weekend, taking those extra hours to try to upload all that stuff in. I'm not trying to be argumentative. I'm just saying that it's a lot of time that I'm now getting no money for.
We have 33 users that are due inspections for mobiles. So we have everybody kind of, I even do mobile inspections sometimes. So that is a lot of users that would be on there, because I wouldn't want to do it on their behalf. I feel like they're,
Yep. they'll
for
have their
legal
own.
reasons, they should
Right.
for their own thing. So that gets into depending on what the solution is, there might be some payments.
And
associated
what
with
do we
that.
do if it goes down, or what do we do if we have 33 on Saturday, plus we have 8, plus she has, you know, however many she has, now you got like 50 users trying to use this at one time. And then it goes down, you know, I mean, we tried US Foods and it would go down a lot. And so what do we do if it goes down? Then we don't have any way to communicate, you know, county to county. So
So-
and not that that's, I mean, it happens, but not that that's, you know, we hope that doesn't happen, but.
Okay, so I hear that. So for sake of the amendment in the proposal, that first little subsection, it mentioned to update the schedule to the payment. Let's just stick to like, as of right now, it's the 450 unless we hear otherwise. Some have sent in, they said that it might be a challenge to remit payment monthly, or semi-monthly or annually. So what are we all in agreement of, or what does that look like? What is feasible for all of us? If the 450 is what, this is what they decide and they don't make any changes to it, and it does say that the payment has to be remitted to IDOH monthly, is that monthly feasible? It doesn't have to say the first of every month. It doesn't have to be the 15th of every month. It just says monthly. Is that feasible, or is that a challenge or a
Why wouldn't we
hardship?
just, if you do it and you're gonna charge the fee, then pay the state their portion of it right then. And it's done. Instead of going back and say, okay, we gotta set up with the controllers to set up a payment plan for a fee that we've collected. Wouldn't it be better if we just did it?
Look at me, because I don't know. I don't agree.
I mean, it's,
I think it kind of depends on what the payment process looks like, but we're already, in our department, we're submitting like grants, like invoices, stuff monthly. I don't think it wouldn't affect us really. Cause we have a dozen grants that we submit monthly invoices, and it'd kind of be the same realm there. So I don't feel like that's a burden to our department, but I can't speak for everybody.
I think the feedback that I got from our administration is that they would vote for an annual one or the least amount of times per year.
yeah,
And I would say we would do that too.
yeah, I mean, get the fee done, pay it, you're done.
Does anyone feel strongly that it should be monthly or more often than annually at least?
No.
No,
No, there's, and we have the bounce checks, we have other payment things that go along with it, we have refunds, there's a lot that goes into it, and honestly, if we're collecting some interest on the time frame for us to get it to annually, at least it would kind of soften the
Right.
blow of this 250.
Right.
The refund would be another thing too. I know a lot of times you can't transfer them, you can't, all that stuff, but like if we don't provide a service, do we have to refund them? And then how do we get the money back? The 250 back? Like if they never open, so they get in January and they plan on opening
Yeah.
summer
We
or
don't
whatever.
refund anything.
Well, no, we
But
don't.
then they say, oh, we're not gonna open now, like how are we gonna get that
It's only
250
the
back?
year, because you kind of solved itself, right?
Well, I'm just saying that if it's annual versus monthly, all that stuff, so.
Okay, so question. So I just want to make sure I understand it. So I have a mobile, I'm coming to your county and I apply for the permit and I pay the money. And then a few days later, I'm like, ooh, just kidding. I don't want to have a mobile, but I've already paid. So you're saying you would provide them with a refund?
We
Even
would,
after
because there
you
was
issued them their.
no service provided, or we
I
didn't
know
have
you
an
would have
inspect.
given us the money at that point, like, the
Well, it could
transaction
be-
from us wouldn't have happened
If we're
yet.
doing it monthly, it could be 2 months later.
Okay.
We don't.
Yeah.
No, but we don't give refunds.
We
I'm
don't
saying
refund
if
anything.
we're looking
no.
monthly versus annual, it might be better to go annual for those purposes, but.
So we don't, so most of us don't give refund,
Yeah.
Mhm.
but what they're gonna do is they're gonna come to you and say that they want a refund of the
Right.
$250 that they paid us.
But they're gonna want the 450, because technically we're just collecting 200 on your behalf, right? I mean, we're being able to retain it for our expenses.
But if you guys don't issue a refund,
But we do.
Thank you
I
for
mean,
your
there's gonna be a
donation.
mixture of counties, so.
We try not to collect it until immediately before the licensing inspection to avoid. that.
Yeah.
They have 10 days.
And that's after the
Yeah, I'm
plan
removing that
process,
stuff too.
right?
Well, and that brings up, yeah, and that brings up plan review, and it also brings up like January to December, like how do you? You know what I mean? Like if you're gonna do it at the beginning of the year, so we do ours January to December 31st, right? But then we have mobiles all throughout the year, like everybody crams in March and April, like,
Yeah.
forgot I wanted to be a mobile truck, and now I do. And so, you're gonna be, are we gonna call you and say, hey, we got a new mobile truck? And you're gonna say, oh, 450, you know what I mean? Like, or send them down to you? Are y'all gonna be
So
doing
in
this
theory,
all
we
year
won't
long?
know that a mobile has come to, based on how this bill is written, we don't handle any of the application process. We don't do any of that. So we don't know when a new mobile has come to your area until it's entered into the software. We have no idea what's going on with 95 local health departments. We don't have any jurisdiction. We don't have any oversight of that. I know this bill is encouraging that, but as of right now, I will not know that you license X amount of trucks throughout the year. I would say it's honor-based system. Okay, so for this portion, do we agree that we want the least amount of times per year payments getting remitted to IDOH? And then do we agree that IDOH needs to create a special fund for when payment comes to us, it needs to go to the system? Like it's not, it's just for the system.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Agreed.
Okay. All right, so here go more options. Can a local health department pay a flat rate annually for use of the statewide software system? How will the state verify how many trucks there are if a county does not report a license has been issued? So for the first half of it, can a local health department pay a flat rate annually? There are several local health departments that might have 2 trucks a year that they actually are licensing for, that is their home county. A flat rate would indicate that but they're still gonna use our system, which we still have to pay for. Because when, let's say, a festival comes into their town, they only have 2 trucks that they permit per year, so they got the 450 going on. But they're still utilizing our system for the rest of the year because they do have the Blueberry Festival or the Pumpkin Spice Festival is still coming into their town. It does.
So the county would pay, you're saying the county would pay a user fee in addition to what you are collecting with the 250 or, and
That hasn't been like wrinkled out just yet, but for the counties that do not have trucks to come in, because I think there was a county that might not have any trucks in their county whatsoever. That's their home base. So they're not getting a fee whatsoever, but I think they might be getting temporary, but they're still using our software. So is a flat rate acceptable?
I don't think so.
Okay.
If you're getting paid $250 per unit, how many, I mean, there's thousands of units. That's all brand new money for you all for this fund. I just figured that would be enough to manage
So
the,
our quote was 750,000 to build out the software.
You need to get a different
And
quote.
it would be twice that at the end of that. I mean, from,
It was a very conservative.
It was,
estimate, yeah.
yeah.
Well, but if everybody's already saying they don't want to enter in twice because they don't want to enter into what they have and then enter into your program, wouldn't it be money better spent to develop patches? So for instance, like we use Access. So wouldn't it be better to have your IT people build a patch that would allow us to just upload from Access into whatever you have?
Cable
Then we
after
only
when they
have to-
get here, that,
And we just have to
that'll be
enter it
fun, that'll
once.
be a question for them that I can't answer.
I have a comment too. Is it too much to put the burden on the operator to enter their inspections and enter their information and upload their own inspection reports? To where it's part of, like, we can make it part of the ordinance where they have to, if they get an inspection, they have to upload it. You then copy it as an attachment to the state. We do that
would
with
be
some other-
faith, like, that would be goodwill.
But if it's-
Because if I personally, I'm a good person, I acknowledge that I'm a good person, but if I got an inspection report less than ideal,
I understand that, but I'm trying to get it off of us too. So I was trying to think of ways that they could put into the system. We do that with with pools and some other things that, I mean, there'd have to be some punitive process if they don't, but
Can't even imagine our operators doing
Yeah,
that.
I
I
can't
can't even get them to do minimum other things.
Can't even get them to
Well,
tell me they're coming to the
Yes.
county.
Yeah.
I was trying to get it off of us.
I
to
understand.
put in
a
another-
lot of
great
people would
idea.
feel the obligation to go verify they actually did it too, so you're pretty much feel like
Doing
doing
double
the same work, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of them don't even keep the copies of the
Yes.
reports.
Yeah.
either.
I suggested that though, that they have to keep the file of all their inspections on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that would be for people who aren't on the inspection thing, but I was just trying to not, I can't enter twice. I don't even think interfaces too have always been so problematic, and we have our own security things too. Because we do have PHI in our system as well. But we have a database where everything's on there still.
Okay.
Which is exportable. We have some exports that we could do from that level too, where it could be where that data could be exported and then put that in there. We would make that
The other part of that is if you're a smaller county that, like you said, if they don't have any trucks that come into their county as far as getting an inspection, then they're paying a fee to check on ones that do come in for the software. Is that fair? You know, so they're not getting any income from any of the inspection part, but yet they have to pay a fee to the software company or to you guys. Say, okay, if a truck comes in, I've got to pay this fee to look and make sure that they're had their inspections and correctly permitted.
So the second bullet point, we're just gonna put an X on it, right? So we all agree
Yes.
on.
Agree.
All right, and then last bullet point. Well, it's kind of repeating the same thing. It's a flat rate for counties with less than X amount of mobile retail food establishments. That's kind of the same thing as what the previous bullet point was saying. So X on that too.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so subsection 6, I didn't see anyone with any questions or concerns with subsection 6, which is on page page 3 at the bottom.
Yeah.
Just
I
the
think,
dates, the
I
year.
think we
just
do.
the year.
Yeah, one, if we gotta figure out how, is it, what's it go from January to February or January to December?
Okay, so I actually added that in there. I didn't realize it was in subsection 6. If you go under actionable items that require further clarification on the bottom of that same page, I put it right there. So once we decide on what we'd like, I can get that moved up to subsection 6. So for further clarification, we're looking to identify license expiration dates. Is it an annual license from January to December, same calendar year? Or will there be flexibility to have a prorated rate for a mobile retail food establishment that applies for a license in July and then it ends in December? Or are we looking to have an annual from the month they purchase it to the month up to the fall, that same month of the following year? What are we looking, because we'll all have to decide on what the permit looks like, and does it get prorated if they get a permit at the end of the year? Do they still have to pay the $450 versus someone who got their permit in January?
Yeah.
So I have a question. If we decide it's April to whatever, or January to December, and then who is going to be handling, like, when the end of December 31st comes and it's time for renewal? Is that me? So I don't necessarily have time to be deciding, like, is it this or that? Like, if you show up in November and you said, I'm gonna have a food truck and it's gonna be Christmas time, you're gonna pay in November, but you're also gonna pay January 1,
Okay.
to start the year off. I mean, I can prorate it, like we prorate, I can't talk. We prorate starting September 1.
Okay.
That's what we do. But I don't have time to be trying to figure out 700 mobiles, like, when they are. It's either gonna be this or that.
Okay, so if we decide to prorate it, that's something we'll have to get added in there, because as of right now, it just says it's $450.
Right.
So we'll have to submit that proposal to say, if they, like you said, September 1st.
Well, most of them will, what we find, we go January 1 to December 31st. I think like that's what Hamilton County does.
Okay.
But we don't get anybody really applying for the permits until spring. And
Okay.
so then it's all gonna be, why don't we do it sort of like what you guys do, start at the spring and go from,
Ours expire February 28th
yeah.
of the next year.
But we have operators that run, like they do Santa Claus through December 31st. And then all the way, then it turns into an ice skating rink and they're out January through February. So, You know, I mean, and then January 1, you know, are we pounding the pavement, be like, you didn't get your permit.
Okay, so you guys do February almost as like a catch-all, like.
We
to-
do, it runs through
Okay.
any period, and so February 28th 's expiration date. I would not mind mobiles being on a separate cycle, just because that way it wouldn't interfere with our regular renewals.
Okay,
So I'd be open to that, but again, they aren't going to, no one's going to pay for their license until the first nice weekend.
Exactly.
Yeah, ours runs April 1st through March 31st, and we do not prorate anything.
okay.
I don't like the prorate.
Yeah,
Right, the
that
prorate is-
prorating makes more work to me.
Yeah.
And all of your startup administrative costs and everything are all the same regardless of what point in the year you start.
With that said, I do think a calendar year does require a prorate if you want to be fair. We don't do calendar years, we do rolling years. September opening would get it until September of next year. We don't do prorates with that, but that's just one example. But I do think with the calendar year, you may have to do a prorate to be fair, but that's up for discussion.
Can I make the comment that please no seasonals? We've taken seasonals out for mobiles because there's no one who operates less than 6 months, depending on, it's all weather dependent. So it says annual in here, but I just don't want to make an argument for
Okay.
seasonal.
I think I think I did add seasonal in here, because when we did a survey a few months, probably almost a year ago for the new code, we were trying to figure out what everyone classifies retail food establishments. And there are several counties that just say this is seasonal, like they just go to farmers markets or something, like, I don't remember, but there were several. So I just added that in there just to be fair and try and represent, all 95 counties.
But it says annual though, in the language, so it would have to be annual, right? I
Okay.
mean, they don't have to be annual like that.
Okay, so
I have a question. So is somebody gonna create a new statewide permit? And then we all have to download it to our county, and then we have to issue it? And
So we
they
would
brought
provide the template.
paper.
that would be something that we would do. We would provide the template because it has to look the same. Because that would defeat the statewide uniformityness of it, I would say. How that goes, we'll have to ask our systems team. They're coming. Maybe we should just, can you ping IS and Abdul? Feel like now would be a good time for them.
Well, it is 11:30 right now. Do we want to consider breaking for lunch too, and maybe tackle this issue after lunch? And get into it in the software?
And that's fine. I just was throwing it out there.
What do we collectively decide as a group? Do we want to pause? Do we want to, yes, needing a break?
Go from a half hour break at noon to 1 for lunch, or?
We're still reviewing everything that's going in for the legislative.
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
So
yeah,
we don't have
we're
much
still
more,
like,
though.
I don't even know if we're halfway through, so
Yeah.
we still have quite a bit to go through, but that's kind of what's on the agenda for today, because we want to hash out most of this, and then I will draft it back out, and send it out to the group, so the next time we meet, that will kind of be our deciding factor on, okay, this is what we're ready to submit, because we've got to get it to them prior to Thanksgiving. So. And it doesn't have to be a 30-minute break. We can take a 15, like.
We do a working lunch if you like.
Usually do, but I don't want to be like that person.
Yeah, so thoughts on a working lunch? Just go grab something and then come back? All right, what time is it now?
Yeah, we wouldn't be able to do that with our county policy, but we could do a 15-minute break though.
Okay, so if we come back at 11:47, 11:48,
Or
Okay.
when you get your food,
yeah,
or if you're going out.
yeah. So 11:48, if you can be back here, that would be great.
With that said, we could take a lunch though, just not a working lunch. I didn't mean we couldn't take a lunch.
Oh, you can't.
Right, okay.
We have to step away. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
do what?
Well,
So it's
there
up- so it's up to you.
So we'll do, it's a 30-minute lunch for you, right?
That's fine.
Okay, so 12:03, if everyone could come back at 12:03, just to be fair to everyone in the work group, 12:03.
Green flag.
I think it's And resume where we had left off. Thank you guys. I hope you had a great lunch. So we resumed off of. We were still under subsection 6. We were waiting to finish discussing clarification on calendar year, kind of identifying what the calendar year is. And we'll start back from there. All righty, so we discussed no prorate. I do have the side note from Allen County to look into that to see if that's something that we must do. But as far as the group, we've kind of collectively decided no prorate unless it's absolutely required. If it's not required, there were a couple of counties that had variable calendar years. So we need to collectively say January to December, April to March 30th.
And no rolling calendar. That would be too hard to, oh, well, this one's due in February and that one's due in
Right.
May. Yeah, that would be impossible. I
No
mean, do
rolling
they have to
calendar.
all be the same or I mean, if it's, as long as it's annual, can it just be based on whatever the county does? Does it have to be the same?
So because it's a uniform license, so let me actually ask about that because I see what you're saying. Because technically it'll just have the year on it. So even if your calendar year was April to April and yours was March to February, it would still say 2026 or 2027. As far as, I don't know how specific we have to be. I don't know if it has to say the exact date on it. Let me get some clarification on that because then we might have a little wiggle room to honor your calendar year or your calendar year.
You're gonna
Let
get
me
into
just-
a lot of confusion there. If you don't have it set, this is what it is.
Okay,
You're just opening it up for a lot more confusion, in my opinion.
okay.
So if we wanted a uniform across the state, what do most people think would be the best way to go about that? January to December or another?
I kind of like how it was spring to spring because like you guys had mentioned,
Yeah.
you still hit the Christmas, like the Christmas festivals and fairs and things like that. But then January, February, not much is happening. So you have kind of that lag and then it kind of picks up again. So I do like that idea where it is March to February or April to April. Thoughts?
Plus you avoid that Christmas time where everybody's forgetting everything and then they're paying late or whatever.
Yes.
Or everyone's just on vacation, like internally.
Right.
Yeah.
But if-
Vacation.
I would rather have it not in April just because that ramps up all of our events.
Okay.
And then we're trying to get stuck into doing.
So
that.
March 1st to February 28th, maybe 29th, depending on if it's a leap year or not.
Does the bill's effective date matter though?
Yeah,
The
I
fact
thought
that
it
it goes
did.
into effect in
If
January?
it's January 1st, 2027. And there are events in January, February, and March. We
Yeah,
have to account for those.
So it sounds like it might end up being January to January.
Whatever, yeah, whatever.
Just for the first year though.
Yeah, you could just make it the
Yeah.
first year only.
And then in subsequent years, I think I used that term correctly, in subsequent years, then it'll be I think March 1st to February 28th.
Well, I mean, in reality, not everybody is gonna get their license on January 1st of 2027, so maybe have an initial licensing period of January 1st through February 28th with all renewals, all subsequent renewals being March 1st of the next year.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? Am I saying that?
That would make it a little bit longer than a full 12 months though.
For the first one?
For the first one.
I think we make that.
Yeah. That's what I was trying to figure out how to
Technically,
word
it's meant
that.
for an annual
Yeah.
license, so we may have to add more detail in there after that though, but we might be able to do that.
But we agreed this goes under subsection 6 because that talks about the license itself in effect for 1 year, and maybe in the renewal requirements. Okay. We get that amendment put in subsection 6. Was there anything else you all identified in subsection 6 that we might not have addressed that might need?
So Would the physical license itself be under that? I mean, this is probably not necessarily in the rule, but something to think about, like, you know, a paper license, can they move it from truck to truck? Or are we gonna require, like, we put stickers on trucks.
Oh, I did add that. That's in one of the, I put that under the requirements of the operator themselves, like what they have to do, because they have requirements too. So
So
I
we
think I
put-
did.
We require stickers. And then we usually we either put them on them or have them put them on in front of us. So, I
Okay.
mean, like, we don't do it every year, but like every couple of years, we do an audit where they have to put it on in front of us. Or we put them on.
Okay.
Would that maybe not be the spot, but if you're doing the renewal, you know, for the calendar year or whatever, would there be somewhere to add, you know, any updated commissary, any updated paperwork, or are you putting that under the responsibility of the mobile?
So I think that comes back down to paperwork, and that's something that we don't have to have in rule.
Okay.
Because that's something that it just says we're gonna establish like the plan review, and that's already in here. We established all the paperwork
Well,
together.
I was just wondering on the meat licensing standards of this chapter under section 6A2.
Yep. So the licensing,
Is there a way to like, I mean, I know what the licensing standard is, but I'm saying, is there a way to maybe add something in there, like?
yep, because it's under section 4, I think, where it says the work group has to come up with the licensing standards. So we would all collectively do
Okay.
that. So that's just
Okay.
kind of like lumping it out
Okay.
on here. But because that's not something that we have to do, that has to go through the code, I think we have a little more wiggle room on the timeline to create that.
Okay.
I did have one note under section 6, 3. What if the food's not ready for immediate consumption? Example would be if there was a truck selling frozen meat or something like that, or maybe the old Schwann's trucks models when they were in business. It reads that it wouldn't include those trucks, but I think I'd want it to be all inclusive. Not too many of those out there, but there's some.
Okay, so if we just remove that, the word immediate, we could just say consumption, right? And that would just kind of close that gap right there.
Agree.
Thought,
I agree.
Does that part though, that 3, doesn't it require some registration? Should it say that they have to register with us in some regard? I don't think it does right now, but that seems to be the part where there should be some registration language too.
yep, it says it at the top of, at the bottom of page 3, it says a statewide mobile retail food establishment license issued under this chapter authorizes an owner operator to do X, Y, Z. So they still have to get the license, though, to do it.
Okay. It just, that language though, in 3 was kind of like that would be done, but.
Is there any suggestion to kind of make it more clear?
You had said something about that they were gonna have to do some stuff. So couldn't they be required to tell us they're coming to our county?
Yes, I added that as
Okay.
well. Yep.
Not necessarily if they're doing an event, because with
There's
our
no
county,
register.
they're gonna register the event, they're gonna tell us who the vendors are.
Okay, let's see here. That's actually moving us into subsection 7, which is spot on with what you guys were just discussing. So for subsection 7, this is under the responsibilities of the owner operator of a mobile retail food establishment. This is what we're looking to add underneath that section. The first thing we're looking to add is notify the county of its intent to operate, where, and the length of time. The second one is to complete a county authorization form, not a permit. This provides accountability of the owner and permits the county to have visibility of the mobile retail food establishment traffic within their jurisdiction. The owner operator of a mobile retail food establishment shall ensure all civil penalties are paid to the required county prior to the reinstatement of revoked license or annual license renewal. All violations previously documented by the regulatory authorities shall be corrected prior to leaving the county. And the owner operator of a mobile retail food establishment shall post their permit on the window within customer view. So essentially, these are some of the things that we've talked about, and this puts ownership onto the operator themselves. This is saying this is what they have to do in order to maintain compliance and get this permit or license. Thoughts on the first section of just notifying the county of its intent to operate. They have to say where, and they have to say the length of time.
Okay, so for any of the special events that go on in the city, they have to register with the city and they have clean zones and people are not allowed to operate there. So at that point, I would have to deny them.
So that gets really, that's pretty tough because now we're getting into like city, because I know.
I mean, basically, if they go and operate there, they're gonna get shut down by the city.
Mhm.
But that should be their responsibility to check.
To
with the
know
city.
where they can and can't go.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything that unless we say must obtain prior approval from the city. I don't know how else to,
What about in 6.3 where it says that they can do consumption to the public in any county in Indiana in accordance with local ordinances?
okay. So to repeat that, so this is an amendment for subsection 6 to tack on to the last sentence where it mentioned, it authorizes an owner or operator to use mobile retail food establishment for which the license is issued to provide food ready for consumption to the public in any county in Indiana in accordance with local and city ordinances, right?
Because we have the same thing with zoning. I mean, they can't just park anywhere and they have time.
Yeah.
You know, they can't sell after a certain time.
Those zones and ordinances. And then that covers us. Like, it was your responsibility to do this. You chose to operate, even though you paid your money, you chose to operate prior to getting all of the information. So that takes our liability away, right? All right. We can get this added. All right, but did we decide on notifying the county of its intent to operate, where and length of time?
I think so.
Yes.
Okay, so likely
Yeah.
we'll probably have to have a uniform form, probably. That the operator has to fill out, and several other states have done that as well. Where the operator submits it when they notify us of their intent.
Is there any consequence if they don't? I mean, is it required or is it recommended?
And is there a time frame? How soon? Are we gonna go with the 30 days?
The IC code does say 30 days that they have to, so we can probably, on the document, we might be able to say operator shall register in accordance to IC, whatever the numbers are. And that will state the 30 days. So they'll have that information at their fingertips. So if they argue it, then the counter argument would be like, hey, it says 30 days, it's 2 days away is your event. We don't have the resources, so. Okay, so check mark for that. Back to the county authorization form. I think we wanted to nix that, but I'll open it back up. Complete a county authorization form. But I guess that is kind of like the same as the intent to operate.
Yeah.
Is the notification form, so it's kind of the same thing. And this just provides visibility for all of us to know where trucks are when they're in our jurisdiction. So maybe we'll create a different name for it, and we can create that together, but essentially that's the idea that we would like.
If they do this, then they fill out whatever form they're supposed to fill out. will the county be notified via the software we're gonna have, or will they have to be?
So they have to notify you specifically. So it would never come to us.
Okay.
They have to notify, and it will kind of be like the inspection form that we create. So the state created a model inspection report, but every county, and it's okay if you don't use our inspection report, every county can take our logo off and you use your logo, but the information is the same. Like we're all collecting the same information. It's just your logo went onto they're notifying Hamilton County or they're notifying Hendricks County. They don't need to notify us. Because then I don't know if we have the resources to turn around and notify you within a certain time frame.
Well, let's notify us. It's our responsibility.
Well, yeah,
Of course.
whomever the jurisdiction is under, that's whom they would notify. And of course, if I do get something accidentally, I'll still let the operator know, or we'll let the operator know, hey, you need to notify Marion County. Just like when we do for temporary events, like we'll toss information back and forth. So but ultimately, we like them to go straight to the source.
So we have our vendors do an event, like in a, market master or event organizer, fill out an event organizer application. So they usually put the intent is, you know, whoever the mobile is and temporary or whatever. Are they on top of that gonna have to do the letter of intent as well? You know what I mean? So are they, because really they're not filling out the event organizer, that's our notification that they're there. But then maybe that's the extra step. Now we have to get them to sign the intent.
So that can go either way. So we can add something that says the event organizer has to notify the state with all of the information. But then what happens when it's not an event and truck just wants to
Right,
come
right.
because it's Saturday?
Right.
Well,
it's a nice
could
day
you,
outside.
I mean, can you say shall notify the county of the intent to operate where and when? And then, I mean, it's okay if it's duplicated as an event organizer. I mean, I just know we have event organizers that we use that has
Mhm.
everybody there so we can justify inspection people.
Right.
But I mean, maybe, you know, maybe they still have to sign the intent. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of doubling up on it, but
I'd rather know twice than not at all.
Mhm.
Thoughts from this side of the room?
I think sorry, because we don't have that where the event organizer has to submit. Like we contact them and if we try and get it ahead of time, we don't have anything where they have to submit it to us. So I think the responsibility definitely needs to fall on the owner of the mobile. And then, like I said, if you're getting it multiple times, then hey,
Yeah, and we have.
That's my
representatives
thoughts.
From Parks Department there, they do most of it in Fishers. But to get an event, you know, list of who's coming, it's challenging. I have to go down there and fight for it.
So let me ask you this. So, okay, so they get a license mobile in Hendricks County, then they're gonna go to state property. And are you guys gonna get notified? Are you guys gonna do the inspections on those?
So we do. So we have a digital software, but we have it to where the event organizer has to register and let us know all the information. In a perfect world, it's a perfect system, but we still have the same challenges where they get a last minute truck that just, you know, drops in and they don't notify us of the last minute truck, or sometimes they register an event 5 days before the event, or we struggle to get not just the organizer to register, but the vendors themselves. Like we struggle to get that. And then we just take it from there. But we like the authorization or the notice of intent, because we would like to know that they're at Military Park or at White River State Park or State Fair.
is there a way to reword it, like, notice of intent, like every time you come, so that it's not misconstrued?
Yep.
Like, oh, I did it in January, you know, I'm here.
So I do like that. So the notice of intent can serve as they know that they're going to these 5 major festivals. And then if anything is subject to change, they have to complete a new form. So that way you can update it.
Yeah, I just mean in the wording, like where it says shall notify the county of intent to, you know, operate in that county. Is there a way to put in her,
for each instance.
for each event, and it's not necessarily an event, but
Right,
her,
like per instance or for each instance or.
so that you know that you're getting like if they're gonna be at Tractor Supply for Monday through Friday, I expect that. But then if they say, oh, Saturday, I'm going to blah, 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 I would expect to know that too.
So I don't know if we have to put that, and I can default it to our attorney, but I don't know if we have to put the specifics of the notice of intent, like exactly everything that it entails, and if we need them to change it, fill it out again, or, because I think we just need to say, Keon, sorry. Can we just say each operator needs to submit a notice of intent? Okay,
It'll depend on what's
Each
in the
time.
rule and what's in the notice of intent itself, so. And in any statutory changes, so. It would depend on how it ends up being crafted. You guys say what you want it to look like, and then we can work to make it.
So do we have to say it in the amendment? Or can we just say the operator shall submit a notice of intent, period, but then we've created the uniform document in the work group. This is what we've collectively agreed on. This is what the notice of intent looks like. Or do we have to spell it out exactly?
Where would you spell it out? If not,
On the form itself, like on the form, we would reference the IC code that says you gotta register within the 30 days. It would be on the form itself.
it'd be in rule.
Okay, so it doesn't have to be on the amendment for the House bill.
If it's in the House bill, it doesn't need to be in rule. That's all. I can't give you an absolute answer because it will depend on what ends up in the House bill versus what ends up in the rule. It could go in either.
But for now, you can just be broad and say,
That's what I'm
we
asking.
just want to
Yeah,
note it,
yeah.
we just want to say in
Yeah.
this.
So I'll just be broad then.
Broad
Okay, okay,
notice of
and they can ask us, well, what do you mean? And then we
Yeah.
can spell it out. Got it. Thank you.
And I think you're gonna have instances like you were just saying is last minute, somebody backs out, they're not gonna be able to give us 30 days.
Right. So I would default to the state law that says they have to register within 30 days. If you want to give them leeway, that's being a good partner. But I don't know that we have to do that because the state law says they have to give us 30-day notice.
Put it out there.
Yeah. I think that's up to your jurisdiction. Like, I think that's up to your discretion. If you allow them to come in late, the state rule is they have to give you at least 30 days. I mean, I wish we could all just say, no, you didn't give me 30 days, but that's not us always being a good partner. But we've done that in the past. Like, we're like, no, tomorrow is the event. No.
We do a late fee.
What's the code sign for the 30-day requirement? Do we know?
It is IC Sharon.
Give me a moment.
Sorry, it's our registration state law.
Okay,
It was in the front of the code, now it's in the back of the code. So.
okay.
So the state law, the IC code, Sharon.
Oh, the IC code for the 30 days? I don't believe it's in the rule. It's in the IC. I didn't know it was in the IC.
It's a long chapter.
Yeah.
The manufacturer.
You can't establish a new class of business without registering.
That's not.
Right.
If they, or we go to.
No, it's a long. Ocean computer.
Water
but
or
I can't
anything
use
like
it.
that. You ever say, no, that's too far.
I really think
You
looking
need
at
to go to the
code.
maps and have those.
Yeah, there's an IC
You
that
can bring
says,
this up.
the establishment has to register within 30
It's
days
like
of
when we do
operation.
circles of like, we're trying to call. It's like. Respond with it.
Yeah.
So it does in 1642-1-6, which it refers to there, doesn't say 30 days.
No.
There's confirmation.
So it's not in.
But I do think there needs to be some.
Where did I read? There's something about that. Google 30 days.
Not
I'm like, there's something that says 30 days in
that
the
the
IP.
registration has been reviewed and approved.
Okay, but you said that's section 477.
77?
Yeah. 7, okay. We will double check the IP code as well. Alrighty, so civil penalties. So the owner operator of a mobile retail food establishment shall ensure that all civil penalties are paid to the required county prior to the reinstatement of revoked license or annual license renewal. This kind of goes back to the system because how can you track it? Let's say you guys handed out a civil penalty, but so did Marion County. Well, now, but their home county is Howard County. So how does Howard County know that they have settled any civil penalties from any other county? And how do we prevent the mobile retail food establishment operators from acquiring all of these civil penalties and then running away? Like, let's say I get it in Marion County. Well, I'm never going to come back to Marion County because they know that I owe them money, but Howard County doesn't know, or the city of Gary doesn't know. I'm just going to rack up these fees.
Wouldn't that have to be something that we would be uploading into a database that says that they have outstanding penalties in Hendricks County? And Howard County could check to see if there's any outstanding penalties before you would assume that would be the only way. I don't know how to know.
I think I was still looking into in front of me. Does it have a timeline for payment? Because we've always used the Health and Hospital Corporation timeline for payment.
So the civil penalties are currently getting updated, and our peon can speak to where we're at with civil penalties currently.
They're pending with the office management budget.
Okay, so we did submit the civil penalties to be updated to reflect our current code. So they're still sitting with the Office of Management and Budget, but we did add a clause in there that reflects your question. What was your question again? I'm so sorry.
What is the due date? That would be an acceptable due date for that, because for me, if we do it annually, they're gonna want to write one check to the home county, and then we'd have to get back into distribution of funds or turn down that payment or something like that. So we have invoice due dates on our civil penalties because we mirrored after the health and hospital civil penalties. And
We don't have that on our, that is not on 7-23. We didn't say there's a due date, did we, Keon?
No.
There's no due date.
there's no
So
date current.
if it's not in our rule,
that we can have a due date based on our local ordinance.
And the due date just have to be before I permit was.
we'll get further clarification on that for you.
I would, personally, I'd rather have a rolling due date because then we know that the county that issued it is more likely to get it. Or if I need to go and file them for court, then I would be able to do that through my processes.
Can you write that down? Can you like explain it, like
Our ordinance and how we do that for the,
the suggestion you just had, because I just saw heads nodding like in agreement. So,
okay.
and I want to get it specifically
I'm
correct.
just gonna write due date down. I mean, that's all it is. We need a due date and.
So that's all it needs is when a civil penalty is issued, it must be paid within.
Within the time frame of.
Okay.
10 or 15 days
Okay.
or whatever the
Got it.
allotted time is. And if it's not, then it occurs late fees.
Yeah, from the
Got it.
origination county.
And then you can't, you know that if those penalties or fees are not paid, can you go to the next county and rack up more?
So this
fees
would
or
only be
not be
for
allowed?
mobiles because the civil penalties, we can't change it right now.
Right.
So this would go into the bill itself, correct, Keon?
Reese, what explicit part are you trying to put into the bill itself?
The due date, so we're saying that the owner or operator shall ensure all civil penalties are paid to the required county prior to the reinstatement of the revoked license or annual license renewal. But instead of saying that exactly, we want to add a timeline. So instead of saying before you renew your license, after you've had this like fee for 300 days out of the year, it should have been paid within 14 calendar days of receipt. Like, can we say that?
It's possible, but I'd have to take a look at it.
Okay,
and see
I'm
how
gonna
we
write it
can
down
work
and see if that's possible. What is a adequate time frame? Like, this is a question for the group. What is a time frame of when it must be paid?
I'll say for our ordinance, we have 10 days. And so that's where we're,
10 days. That's what we do.
not that they do, but that's why I don't want to give more than that, especially when it gets into licensing season and the headache for the whatever county it's going back to or for our county too.
And is that because the inspection that triggered the fine is also made public record in 10 days?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. So when they ask about the 10 days, that's good to have that. Alrighty.
Can I ask a question here? In that case, is that you've given them a fine, they had 10 days to get it corrected or paid. They come to Hamilton County and we see that, hey, they've got a fine there, then do they have to pay you directly? Who collects that?
We do, I think we've
Okay.
established the originating
Okay, the
county
origin-
gets
okay.
that money, but then
That's
we're
right.
also responsible for the collection of it
Right.
too.
Okay,
I'm gonna put originating county.
yeah.
We'll come up to Fishers, we'll take care of it.
Yeah. Come on. We need some strong arm.
Okay, the next one is all violations previously documented by the regulatory authority shall be corrected prior to leaving the county. Within reason, like, let's say there's something that we know parts are on back order. It's like, we know this isn't gonna be corrected today, tomorrow.
But they leave the county where they're registered to, or before they leave the county that they're home?
That before they, so let's say you guys did the inspection, but they're ready to go to the city of Gary, but they have this laundry list of opportunities that you guys found on their truck. Like, they need to get that corrected before they go to the city of Gary, because likely, even though we, in theory, will have a system, you might not have your report uploaded into that system by the time that truck already gets to Gary, and Gary has no idea of the things that they really.
But there's trucks that go from county to county in the same day.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Right.
you know, there might be a
Gives
factory
time
in one
frames.
county
So-
and they drive to the factory in the next county and to the next
So
county.
say it's cold out, right? First
Mhm.
cold snap. And we're out at a fall festival and the hand washing plumbing breaks, right? So they're like, I can't leave. Oh my God, I got everything to set up for a temporary. I'm ready to go. But then he gets over to their county and now he's got a temporary hookup. You know, not okay. So how are we gonna prevent them from, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if it's a repair that needs to be made to not operate, you can only use a temporary in that specific event, like set up a hand washing station in that specific event. I don't want him to go to Marion County or anywhere else and be like, well, Hamilton County said it was fine for me to use this temporary setup today. You're not repairing it. You know what I mean? So how do you prevent county to county? Because then not only is the hand sink not working, now plumbing's not working, now, you know, everything else is bad by the time I get to the end of the train wreck.
I don't know if there's a solution
I
to
don't know.
that.
Yeah.
That's
I don't-
why, last meeting, I know it wasn't the best word, but I said we have to be aggressive, but almost because of this, we have to be.
Like
Yeah.
standard across. the
We gotta
board.
be like, no, you can't operate. You're no longer mobile if you don't
Right.
meet these requirements. So we would revoke their license, not revoke, but we would,
And maybe
suspend their
that's
license
part
at that
of like
point.
the criteria for what we consider.
So, okay, I do like that. So the criteria to become a mobile is, once they sign off on it, we'll have something in there that says, once you're mobile, you're never temporary. And that would prevent that from happening, right? Like, they can't.
No, but I mean, if there's a crisis situation, but you know, if I said, oh, Mariah, you know, you can set up temporary hand washing right now just to finish up this event. And they're like, well, you know, wait, I'm going to Marion County when I'm done. And I'm like, you can't operate. I'm not gonna have everything uploaded. I mean, I'm gonna get on the phone and call Juan and be like, hey, they got a temporary, you're not gonna have them.
Yeah.
But there has to be something, if that's unacceptable, and like Janelle said, and I agree, 100% across the board standardized. If you're using a temporary setup, it's not okay. So you're just done for the day. You know, whatever that criteria is, it has to be criteria across the board. Like, I can't fix them in an emergency and be like, it's okay for right now, but it's not okay for her. You
Okay.
know,
Their home county would have to approve of and inspect them for them to operate again.
Right.
Would be the, how I think we could solve that.
that would, yeah, I would agree. You have to go back to your home county to get an inspection done.
Are we thinking priority and priority foundation in this case?
Yeah, I mean,
That would take care of the hand sink issue. That'd be a foundation, so. What about, yeah, if there's a hot water heater issue, it's complex, the code gives them 2 weeks. Would we still well, with only a complex, would you still give them the requirement to, and I am okay with that, going, cutting it off so they don't operate in another county. I am fine with that because we do a lot of follow-ups on that type of thing before they can operate.
Where's the 2-week
I think,
repair?
I think that might be, so I think a priority is what, within 72 or 40
Yes.
48 to 72 hours or like corrected, like on site. And I think
72
priority
hours.
foundation, I don't think it goes up to 2 weeks, so
It's 15
It's 15 for, yeah.
15 calendar days, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, for priority foundation.
We have a real world example we're doing right now. So we just had at Riley Hospital, Sakura Express, because I'm going to shame them a little bit, showed up with no electricity. The generator isn't working. They have no water. So that to me means that they don't operate for a while. I mean, it's like, so would I suspend their license until they can get it in compliance? And our ordinance, our local ordinance says that we have 7 days to respond to when they want to reopen if their license is suspended, knowing that this isn't our license anymore. But it almost needs some time for when people do something so egregious that there be a time before we do, not rushing to where, he's got to wait at the county line for when they go over there. I mean, there shouldn't be a rush when people are doing stuff that is endangering public health.
Yeah.
And so I don't want any of the counties to feel that pressure that we have to okay it and get it back on the road again. That's just dumb. We shouldn't deal with that.
I think if you encounter a situation like that in any county, it should just be an automatic, your license is suspended until these issues are fixed. And if they go across the county, okay, their license is still suspended. They can't operate. I mean,
But that's the
you
thing.
could
is
require them to go back.
How you gonna
Yeah,
know?
how you gonna
We
know?
take their license.
That is when
Can
the
we
system is.
take their license and be like, so you're not
The
getting
system,
anything.
So in theory, yes, we would probably have like a specialty kind of paper or something that can't be easily duplicated, maybe with like a hologram. And then once it's gone, then when they do show up in Gary and he's like, wait, how come you don't have your placard in the window? Then that raises red flags. But
I mean, is there a way
Stop
like
them?
we do with a pool or we do with a facility, you're closed. So you know how like you put that on or you put the tape on it, you're not allowed to operate anymore. I mean, are you allowed to do that? You can't legally take that off until you do get the inspection from somewhere else, from your, existing.
I wish we could do like the parking feature.
Yeah,
put a
I don't-
boot, like right on the vehicle.
See, we have that in our ordinance where you can't
We do
remove our
too.
enclosure sign.
We do too.
If we can build out the system robust enough, the system might be able to take care of that. Because you may not be able to upload the full inspection details, because that may take too much
You
time.
might be able to flag them just by
But just
logging
log
in.
in and say, hey, their license is suspended. And that way, if they go move to another county, the county, assuming they'll know where and when they're gonna operate, can log into the system and say, no, your license is suspended.
So this does open a can of worms though, because devil's advocate, it does make me nervous if we don't create criteria for at what point a license can be revoked, because I would hate to hear that it wasn't egregious condition and a county just roguely took someone's license away.
That's us. We're gonna be the ones to do
No,
it.
no, no, but I'm just saying, because then we have House Bill 1577 right now, and then the next following year, we're gonna have its sister House Bill. So
And
if,
that'll be in 4A, and
So-
4A2 as well, which the first 2 points.
yeah, so the criteria
Yeah,
for
so
revoking it,
We'll-
yeah.
Well, yeah, maybe that's what we do is work on the criteria,
Okay.
no water, no electricity, no hookup,
Yeah.
no whatever,
Things that
no
contribute to
plumbing
imminent
working,
health
no,
hazards.
yeah.
But then it makes me nervous because in theory, we all know what an imminent health hazard is, but I just get nervous about those who have more feelings about what an imminent health hazard is versus like the logic of what an imminent health hazard is. And I hope that I'm saying that correctly and not in an offensive way, so.
When we discuss that, we need to talk about though, if they're not returning their commissary, because that is the big one that we have is people not using their commissary, cooking food at home and other things. Because that to me means that their license is suspended and we need to be in agreement on that of what that looks like, because that's our biggest violation we have.
Because back to what Amy keeps referring to, okay, let's say I live up in Lake County and I'm gonna come park in her Tractor Supply every day. Are they really gonna drive from Hamilton County up to Lake County and back every single day? No.
And who does that agreement, or if there is some alternative, is it gonna be Hamilton County that does the agreement? I mean,
I mean, to me, that that means they don't meet the code that they have to return to a commissary. So how can they be mobile across the whole state?
We were talking about recently having a map that has what would be considered as part of
A
like,
radius.
yeah, that
acceptable
where it doesn't
radius.
get into it. And I think Georgia does something similar in their language where it says that if they can't reasonably go back, they become a temporary event. And I think that Indiana's got, I think most people are going to be regional. I'm guessing that people are going to want to go all across this north part of the state or the south part of the state, but just as a decision-making ability to be able to look and see if it's feasible that they can go back. And we have trucks that are out of county for their base and they go back, but they kind of stay
They pretty much,
here.
yeah, donut kill.
Yeah, they're
But
only
the
going
other-
to county or two.
Yeah, and then that's the other thing is if they don't go to their commissary, then they don't have any water to wash their hands if they're sitting out there for 8 hours. And then how are they gonna fill their water? Where are they gonna dump their water? Oh, in the parking lot.
Or worse, they're just not using water at all. and they're
Right,
staying fire because they're not washing their hands whatsoever.
Like game of fun.
Okay,
I mean, I think that's a bigger issue.
I think the radius for the commissary is really good, and that goes into the criteria for licensing and permitting. So we do have the ability to do that, because we have a broad category for that part, so we can add that in there too.
Because I mean, like, Juan, when you license mobiles, if they want to have a mobile license from us and their commissaries in Fort Wayne, you're gonna tell them, no, that's too far.
Well, the problem that I have is, when, I get mobile units who are out of a different county, but come into Marion County to try to get a commissary access, just to go back to the other county and operate there for them to issue a license. Then it's like, okay, so you're gonna be operating, let's say, Hendricks County, but you want to have your base of operation on the far east side of Indianapolis, but you're operating in Hendricks. So how is that gonna work? How are you gonna go back on a daily basis as required?
Well, that's just it. A lot of them are using fake commissaries. They'll have an agreement with Jimmy Bob over here and say, okay, you're gonna be my place for a commissary. You can set up a commissary. Yes, they're not.
And I don't know how we can track that, but we can make them sign that agreement. And then when we do find them out of compliance with that agreement that they signed, then we have the authority to do what needs to be done, right?
And who's gonna do what needs to be done? The IDOH? Because it's who does it go under to revoke? I mean, that was part of the discussion, but what are you thinking right now as we're saying that? with this bill?
So everything for this House bill, all local health departments are doing everything on behalf of the state. And that is something that I put that on here, is to make sure it says on behalf of, because we actually have no authority to come into anyone's jurisdiction to do any type of work. So the work has to be done on behalf of the state. I have no idea how I'm going, even though it's a statewide license, I don't think the license will say IDOH on it at all. It'll be statewide where they can go statewide, but I do not think it'll say the Indiana Department of Health on it.
But the revocation process will have to be in IDOH's wording and we would execute it. Is that?
Yep, so it's a statewide system. Unfortunately, it's a statewide system that IDOH sponsors. Like, sponsor is not a correct word, but will man the system to make sure all the fees are paid and we'll update it and everything like that. But we don't do anything else with the system at all. So it's probably, I see all your faces, that's not the answer. No.
No.
No, because we have to change our whole ordinances and there's a lot of moving pieces in that. And so I think what I was looking for is the state to have the ordinance, how it was going to be revoked, because if we revoke it at our local level, that's just going to be at our local level. And that's what our attorneys would be telling
Yeah,
us, that
so we don't have an ordinance at all. Our ordinance is literally the state law. So unless it's in the IC code, I don't know if there's anything that we could do. I'm looking at, turning back there because you're looking at me. So I'm like,
I'm just looking in general direction.
okay,
I
okay,
missed-
chime in at any point.
I missed the first half of the meeting, so
What authority does IDOH have in the event that there's a food truck that has a history of noncompliance, at what point does IDOH have the authority to step in and intervene?
It's the authority set by code and statute and rule, so it will depend on the amendment that you propose, the amount of authority.
Please don't give us authority.
So you're gonna do complaints, foodborne illnesses, you're gonna do the licensing and call between the counties?
And the revocation.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
I'll
There
write
are
that
6 of
down.
us, 7 of us,
Write it
so,
down.
we'll have to figure that out. Like, I do not have an answer for that. I have no idea at the capacity that the state has any influence on anything other than.
The
statewide
challenge that I
system.
think we've got locally is that you guys are gonna ask us to do all these things. And the only ones getting any funds for that is the person who does the original inspection. And so if the rest of us that have to do this stuff, the time we spent, the man hours that we spent to chase all this stuff down, there's nothing we get for that.
Try to
just
pay authorization fee and.
Yeah, and-
like,
Folks too.
Yeah, and we don't, the funding and the time and everybody's funding's gotten cut. And so I know I'm gonna have a tremendous battle to fight with our Board of Health, that we're gonna be expected to do this, and we're not gonna get anything back for that.
So this is what we need to talk about as well. Like I said, hey, an authorization fee, like I'm trying to find creative ways to come up with funding because this is what the bill needs. It requires funding because we do recognize that funding is being minimized with this new program. So how can we make this work for everybody? Oh, Steve, you're having some feedback.
What if, say, I close like this lovely vendor who is at Riley? What if they want to appeal to someone? They're gonna try to repeal to IDOH.
And then we would probably partner, well, not probably, we would partner together because we don't know what happened. So, I mean, they could appeal with us and say, hey, Marion County unfairly took my license away. And I'm like, I don't know the backstory. I don't know what happened. So we would likely partner together. And I don't even know if they could appeal with us.
That's what I'm gonna clarify, because that,
Look at your rule and look at the statute.
See where I see this going, and I know I'm probably a doomsdayer and I get that. But I see this going where if we don't have the funding to do these inspections, they won't get done.
Exactly.
And it's gonna be like the bed and breakfast rule, complaint basis only.
Yeah.
And that's what's gonna happen. And then these vendors are gonna be going around the entire state. And nobody's gonna look at them except for twice a year in their home-based county. And those are the only 2 inspections they're gonna get because counties aren't gonna be able to afford to have their inspectors go out there and do all of these inspections. With no funding.
We already got going on.
Right. So I mean, so basically, we're degrading public health with this regulation.
So my thought, industry is in the room, so please don't hold this against me. My thought is there is areas where I have said it can boil down to the event organizer. There's nothing that says the event organizer does not pay for an event fee, or you see what I'm saying? Like we have to figure out collectively. I recognize this is a big hit for a lot of local health departments and the state itself. This is a huge, this statewide system. I have no idea. It blows my mind. We've got to figure out something. I hear the complaints, but I can't take this to the legislators because this is already a state law. And if we can't come up with something that works, there's likelihood that it's not going to get amended. And this is what the law will look like. So I really recommend, like, we have to figure out how can this work for all parties in the room, including industry, because that's a big piece of it as well. But that's just my recommendation.
so we have good vendors, and I'm not complaining about all our food trucks. We have really good ones too, but if our system could at least have risk on the ones that higher risk levels, on the ones that are bad vendors, that would be how I'd alert it. I don't want to mess with people that do a good job. I mean, we don't have time to do that, but we need to have some, I think the risk and the category are two ways we can do, because if I'm gonna go out and do an inspection, we're gonna do the ones that need to, just for public health things.
So would this be like an internal, like just in our system, or this is their tier, like, okay, you're doing a ton of stuff on your truck, you're a whole different ballgame versus, oh, you just sell the prepackaged ice cream and potato chips. Is that like public
Yeah.
facing, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3?
We have like, so it would be like a tier 3, which we have the public facing, then we have the risk level, so we'd make it like tier 3, 120, but then we also have another designation of like how often they operate. So if they're only doing a couple a year, we have like regular operation versus just intermittent. So, I mean, we're not gonna be able to inspect all of them, and we know that, but if we could at least prioritize, just like we do with our daily work, because we can't inspect all that either, because there's not enough time or people. That would be the only solution I could think of how we could do it, but we'd have to really kind of flag those and we'd have to communicate, which is a lot.
Okay, so that would go back to the semi-annual. So somewhere in that semi-annual like section, we need to state that a tier 3, we'll figure out what we'll call it, requires a minimum of semi-annual, but a tier 1, they just get their licensing fee and complaint like as needed.
Well, it's hard to
Something like
establish
that.
that for new ones
Yeah.
too. So
Right.
it's almost like we'd have to have like, okay, here's a new one. You know, if we might not even do the initial inspection, it might be in Hamilton County that you're gonna end
Well,
up.
can
having
you
to
do it based off of risk, like we do menu typing?
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like if
Yeah.
you're gonna menu type and you're at a full, like you have an ice cream truck, fine. It's either gonna be frozen or not frozen, right? Labeled or not labeled, move on. But if you're gonna have like, a full-on sushi truck or, Mexican truck that they're making, 20 different things, chicken, chorizo, whatever, then you're in that menu typing, that's gonna be a higher risk. So
Okay.
a higher amount of inspections.
Because we looked at not doing grading, but we looked at doing red, yellow, and green.
Right.
And it almost has to be like that, like, oh, here, red truck's coming to Hamilton County, sorry, that's on you. But I mean, it's gotta be something that's easy to
Right.
do. It probably is. So.
But I agree with that. You're also gonna look at like your event organizer and be like, oh, the ice cream truck, yeah, I'm not too worried about the only ice cream truck. I may skip that event. Like, so he doesn't get, a 40-second inspection. But if I'm out doing, Potter's Bridge, and I've got 30 mobiles, I'm gonna hit those based on the bad ones, but risk.
Mhm.
So, I'm gonna have to prioritize my time on top of, because I have to be cognizant of my time too. And, my county and my commissioners, we have to account for our time and our work. I'm a service to the public, so I can't be, doing a 2-hour event that now is 17 hours because I put all the inspections in. You know what I mean?
Question, when you do your original inspection, so they get their permit and you schedule hypothetically their first inspection. Is the second inspection happening right now? And if so, is that scheduled?
No.
Or, okay,
So
so that's
how-
just, you can go in and inspect it anytime.
So how we do it is they come in, they fill out the paperwork, we assign it out to one of the inspectors. That inspector is then responsible for reviewing all their information, making sure they have, if applicable, serve safe certification, commissary kitchen. And then if that commissary is not within my county, I am reaching out. So like we have built a team, the 4 of us, we're like, hey, is this true? Have they had an inspection at that commissary? Because I would not know that if it's not my county. So that takes time to get that information, right? And then I'm going to ask, where's your food come from? How do you get your food? Where are you dropping off water? What are you doing, right? And then I schedule that appointment as an office inspection. I want to see everything everything ready to go, that he's ready to operate, like refrigeration, cold water, hot, soap, paper towel, sanitizer, the whole nines, before I am going to issue that permit. And then I need to find him, the next inspection that I do is field, in process of working. So sometimes you get a first inspection that they're clean and have nothing in it. sometimes you get, I'm a 75-year-old food truck that's been in Marion County, but I've never been here, and it's fully loaded, ready to go. So, first is inspected is announced, visit, second's not.
Right, that's how we do.
So,
And I think when the bill was written, I don't want to speak totally on intent, but the semi-annual, so remind me the name of the document, basically your home county, kind of like the BMV,
right.
You used to have to go register your car in the county that you lived in.
Mhm.
It would be similar for the county that you have your, what is it, certificate of.
Like commissary kitchens that we're talking about?
Yeah, maybe that's it. That's where your first inspection happens. I think the thought was that the second inspection would probably happen there too. What I'm hearing is, well, the way it's written, it sounds like it could happen
Anyway.
anywhere, which would be hard to keep track of. Okay. All right. Thank you.
I think we need a conditional license if we're gonna get into when we get to the revocation part, it doesn't need to be part of this process, but maybe there's something that are teetering or some way of alerting people.
Okay.
Now, we're using two different terms. We've said suspension and revocation. Just to make sure we're all on the same page, because those are two different things in our county. Suspension means you're closed. You need to
Temporary.
correct, yeah.
And then revocated.
Revocation means you're a repeat offender and you're not getting your license.
In our county, apparently, and then you can go to another county and get it.
Right, yeah.
It is siloed. I mean, it still is. I mean.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
But not our problem, right? So we'll spread out
their
the
problem.
joy. But that's why I was thinking it would be at a state level of that, because that's the only way that it would be a universal process.
It has to be.
They can find the coin.
That's very helpful feedback. We will take that back and
Yeah.
chat with everyone else, dig more into that, and see what we can do.
Okay,
So we
I
have
think we
an hour left.
segued a little bit. Okay, yeah, we don't have an hour left.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll keep
We
going.
have time for fights too.
Okay, section 7, subsection B2. I just figured it needs to add the word statewide before mobile retail food establishment license. Section 7. Yeah, that's on page 5, the last page. It says,
Yeah, I think, yes, you're right.
okay, yeah. Because you guys can issue a mobile retail food establishment license all the way up until January, but then after January, you can't issue a statewide mobile retail food establishment license.
Can't issue a county.
Before.
We can't issue a
Before
statewide
January of
before,
twenty
yeah.
twenty-seven, you can't issue a statewide, I'm sorry, because we still have 2026 to go through.
Right.
So you can't have a statewide before January 1st of 2027. That's why I wanted to add statewide.
Well, I think
Yes.
the other thing is if we figure out that there's a statewide and a local mobile, that every place that says mobile retail food establishment license in here needs to say statewide.
It does.
Yeah.
So if we're able to do that, we'll be able to, they should allow us to tweak it because that's something they approve. So we know the language will change a little bit with what things are called. But I wouldn't add that in there until they approve. Like, yes, they can have a county level and yes, they can have a statewide, like giving that option. Okay,
So do we need to look though, back to 7? Section 7, right at the top, it talks about what the county cannot do an inspection fee or a license permit fee. Is that where we need to look at where you're talking about either like an authorization fee or a verification fee or a health fee, whatever we're gonna call it?
are we talking about subsection 7?
No, under
Section
section 7,
At the bottom of page 4, right?
at the top of page
Top of
4.
page Yeah.
Okay, so that's subsection 7 of section 6. Sorry, it's really confusing. That's still section 6,
Okay.
but it's subsection
Section
7.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oops, okay.
Easier when there's a little. Okay, so section 7. Can you say your question again?
So it says an owner or operator of a mobile retail food establishment issued a statewide mobile license is not required to obtain a county or local license or permit, or required to pay a county or local inspection or license permit fee. But
I circled that. Okay.
is that, would we need like a 3 where they do have to pay a health fee, a verification fee, an authorization fee, or whatever it is?
If that gets added, yes, but as it's written, that, I don't think there's any wiggle room in that because this is intended to have the statewide license. Thank you, Abby.
Thank you.
I thought this section needed a change, but worded as it is, it's actually, it's okay. But if we do get the amendment added on there, if they approve of it, that's where we would add.
So we would add that fee there.
But what I'm reading into what you're saying is if you add statewide mobile, so they get a statewide mobile, they're not allowed to pay any inspection fees or license fees, but they can still get a county mobile license.
And they
Because
can
it's
get
not-
registration fees and commissary fees.
That's if they approve of the amendment.
But I'm saying when you add statewide, to me, that changes 1 and 2.
Like one seems to open the door
Yes.
for a.
So that's how I initially worded it, but if you read it, it says a mobile food establishment issued a statewide license is not required to obtain a county license or required to pay a county license fee or a county permit fee.
Right.
That's
But
correct.
to me, what I'm reading that is if you're issued a statewide mobile, you cannot do these. But if you're not issued a statewide mobile, it's opening the door to say that you can have a county fee and you can have commissary fee and everything
So
else.
no, because
No,
this
because
takes
early
away,
was
you have to have a
Earlier-
statewide mobile.
Okay.
Earlier in here somewhere, and I don't remember where, but earlier in here somewhere, it says you can't operate a mobile unless you have a statewide.
Statewide, yeah.
So I get where you're at and I agree, but because earlier in there, it says you
Okay.
can't operate unless you have a statewide. So that's the
makes
one that
sense.
needs to change to say they
They
can
allow
either
it.
get an either or, a statewide or a county issue.
Would that be on a per unit basis or to be devil's that if I had 2
Like per
units? to
unit,
3
as in like,
units?
let's say I have multiple trucks. So it would be for multiple trucks because they have different VIN numbers, they have different license numbers. They're not the same. They're brick and mortar. They might come
So
out of a brick and
per-
mortar,
Per truck.
but
with
per truck.
I think what Juan's trying to say is if you get it changed that the county, they can opt out of the statewide and they have a statewide license and a county license.
So you can't have both. It's either or. So either you want this particular truck to just be in the county and then truck B and C are statewide, but it can't be like, oh, I'm statewide and I'm county, because then you're just statewide.
So you can do both.
For
If you have multiple.
if you have multiple units, so
So-
technically you can't do both for
Per
a
truck.
single
So
unit.
truck
But I can have a
A
big conglomerate
can
and
only do-
each truck is different. Yeah,
So I can have 2 units in county and 1 can be.
yes, because they're still separate and you permit them separately, right?
Devil's advocate, we have one facility that has 6 trucks.
Would that be Coney's?
Well, that would be Simonov's. And we permit,
It's being recorded, guys.
we permit 3 in our county, right? So let's just hypothetically say silver, yellow, green, right?
I'm going to Fishers though now, right?
So then they're so they get a statewide permit from us, right? For 2 of their 6. And then they say 4 county. But then we'll see, this happens a lot. So we'll now see a pink truck or a blue truck that is not permitted in our county, but they've swapped out the trucks.
So we can add that onto the licensing requirements, as in, we need to know the VIN number. They probably don't, trailers probably don't have a VIN number, but that
They
could be
do.
something we
They
need to
do. I work with the
verify.
license branch, and they do.
Okay, yeah, so that's
Yeah, they
something
do.
we
They
need to
have-
verify. If they wanna play switcheroo, it's like, hey, none of this information matches, this truck shouldn't be here.
Well, so yeah, so we have to make it say that they're not transferable.
Right.
Yes.
Yep, and that's something that we can do, once we get into the licensure
Right.
requirements.
Okay.
of
That's why the
bill.
stickers are nice because they can't take them off and
Yes,
just stick them.
that's-
Yeah. We need something that's identifiable when you know it's a statewide permit.
So that could be something that.
So
we look
whether it
into.
is
So
a
I'll give you guys a
sticker-
phone.
Yeah.
That could be something we look into, is providing the stickers and everything like that, putting that, factoring that into the budget. $750,000, let's just add.
Do you have suppliers or using?
We do.
sticker? Could you forward that
Yeah,
information?
yeah, we do.
I'd be curious, because we pay like $1.50 sticker.
Yeah, we
Yeah, we
do.
do pay,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's not cheap.
because we have to, we get them so that they're UV protected, because otherwise they fade like within
Okay.
a month.
So what we'll probably do is, because we have the rough estimate of how many trucks are in each county, so we will probably just send out, X amount of, and maybe the colors change every year or something like that, and that's.
Ours
something that
do.
we'll figure
Yeah,
out.
ours change every year,
Yeah.
but our stickers are numbered, so there
Yeah.
are specific stickers assigned to a specific truck.
Okay.
Right, and the year, so it's visible, so like if I see it at Hamilton County, but then Marion County sees it, it's the exact same sticker. Like, and maybe there's a way to document on that statewide permit, like in a details tab or something in your software, green mobile, VIN number, XYZ, issued sticker number, blah, blah, blah. So then when we're able to pull that up, we're gonna say, hey, Mariah, you just got a new truck, girl, and
Sure,
go.
the businesses.
And, right, but then we're able to say this is not acceptable, and they're not, because they will change license plates, they will change things. They'll be like, oh, my bad, did I not do the right truck?
Yeah. they
You
always-
know,
they always bring the-
And they do, and also Kona Ice, they have 15 trucks. So, under Kona Ice. So you have to be able to distinguish which license, which sticker goes with which vehicle.
Okay, so I did write that down. So we would want the business name, issued date, the sticker number, the home county.
VIN number.
Yeah, because when we're out in the field, we're not able
Yeah,
to
figure out
like
how to
look all
get
that
all that
stuff up in a
information.
database when we're out in
Well,
the field.
right, but I'm
So it's not to
saying,
say it'd be nice if it was on the sticker. like,
yeah,
that
or maybe,
information.
or maybe there's just a distinguished, like our sticker has the license number, the year, and it's in a different color, like depending on the year that it's a color, right?
So curious. We have a system right now. It's called Red Cap.
No,
So
No, don't do
hear
it.
me out, hear me out, hear me out. It doesn't have to be Red Cap, but let's just say Red Cap is perfect and it's fabulous and it's everything we'd like it to be. So let's say that was the system that every mobile must apply for, like through, but all of us have access to it and can pull their application, but at the state level, we can go ahead and start getting, like, we'll have the information also, so because we're gonna have to get the stickers printed, right? Like,
Right.
so how are we gonna get that information unless we're like, that's a lot of emails back and forth, back and forth. But once we get the money for the vendor, well, it can't because we don't get the money right up front.
Yeah.
Let me sleep on it. Let me think about how that would even like possibly work. But I think the sticker thing would work because it is a statewide, it's a uniform system.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to have the same thing. That way Gary's not looking at something and like, what is this? Why does Hendricks County have, something different? So we're all on the same.
Well, and even if you put like the last four of the VIN number, the sticker doesn't have to be
Huge. Yeah.
But if you put, 5 identifying things on it that would make it that particular thing, you could say G for green, VIN number, blah, 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 but don't do the whole one and 1, 2, 3, 4 is at the end. I know to match it with the VIN number in the field. And not to poo-poo your idea, but I'm not taking my laptop and I'm not gonna sit in the office on Friday looking at Red
Every
Cap.
county has a number, when you go to the driver's
Yes.
tag thing. I
Yes.
don't know what, Carmel, I forget. Hamilton County, what number are we?
01 or 10 or
What if we did that?
something.
What if that's like the unique identifier of the home county? Because that's actually That
What's
is the
on the
unique
license plate?
identifier for the home county.
The ones on the license.
Yeah, it'll say,
Yes.
it'll have that little 2-digit number.
Yeah, I don't remember what ours is.
I think it's 20.
But that way we don't have to recreate the wheel. That's the unique identifier right there.
29.
And then if you
Okay,
have
I knew we were
numbers
something in
But
there.
if we have stickers, some counties don't have that in their ordinance to have the stickers or have the license. So all the counties that have a statewide mobile would have to have where they have to post it. So they'd have to update their ordinance to say they have to post the license.
Well, so that's the different, I'll let you go.
Or we could just work that into requirements for them.
And because it's in the state, it's a state rule, even if
Yeah.
it's in our IAC,
Okay.
you don't have to put it in your ordinance at all. So that might work
That'd be
as
better,
well.
I don't want to.
But,
Yeah, so
but
we'll
maybe
do it for
we,
you, yeah.
but maybe we figure this out under the criteria for what we require. And it's whatever these identifying marks are for that sticker. And then we, distinguish what that is. And then we figure it out from there.
Okay.
Dan just, when he made his little gesture, said that he closed the place that has 6 mobiles. He closed the restaurant. That's their commissary.
Yeah, so
With us, Dan would call Amy
Yeah.
and Juan, say, close the restaurant. Because we all work together, we all know they're licensed in our counties. How would we handle something like
When
that?
did you close them?
They just came to our county.
Well, they've got another restaurant. That's not the only restaurant.
No, it is.
But some of these mobile owners own their restaurant.
Yeah.
That's their commissary.
Yeah.
And if it's an egregious closure, they could be closed for a week.
So what I've done is I reached out to the state of Georgia, and I've reached out to their program director for their mobile program. I'm still waiting on date confirmations of when we can meet. So that meeting is gonna happen, because they also have this program. If you guys have any other suggestions of other states or cities that have done the same thing that we can kind of get some information from, please let me know, and then we can invite them to a meeting, have them talk to us for 30 minutes, give us some high level, well, how'd you do this? I don't think we can ask them to sit with us from 10 to 3, but we could ask them, have predetermined questions, and ask them to come 30 minutes to an hour and just kind of help us work through a few things. Like I said, we have until November 20th or something like that, to get this amendment hashed out and pretty and submitted. So is that an option? We think that'd be a good idea, or?
I think it would be. They went through the trials and errors of what they had.
And their system won't be perfect,
And I
but
would
it might
like
give
to
us
see
a
what
starting point.
what they're struggling with, like she said originally in the first meeting. How long has it been that this has been in place? And what are you seeing that are the pitfalls and the places that are being missed and what's the struggle out in the field?
So they've had it since 2020 because they also had a bill similar to ours. So it's been about 5 years and some change, I guess since it went
Yeah.
into effect. So I will reach back out and really get a date kind of locked in. Well, actually, we need to get a date locked in before I'm
Well, I think I saw that Texas has a statewide one, and I thought I saw that Colorado had the option where you could do a statewide one or you could do a local one.
Okay. So I will look into both of those states as well. To see if they have any information that they can provide us, just to kind of get us over a hump a little bit. We know there's still gonna be things to.
Right.
Ohio to our neighbors.
Yep, we reached out to Ohio.
Theirs is
As
pretty
well.
weak.
Hmm.
When we just recently talked to them about it. And
Okay.
so it's a lot of relaying a lot of information and
Yeah,
it's not systematic at all.
So Kelly, to go back to your concern, we can't register the commissaries in the system, can we? Only the mobile food establishments, is that right?
That's what we're required to do.
So every county keeps a list of their own commissaries in there, correct? Like those are, and if you have to shut one of those down, maybe we could build into the system, hey, the commissary for all these mobile food trucks registered in the system is gone. Act accordingly for all other counties that will encounter. Would that work?
Right, but I'm just saying, how are we gonna get that out?
Would have to be,
I
yeah.
mean,
Well, that's what ICE is here to help us with.
Yeah, I mean-
Building out that system.
yeah, because that that's a big thing. If their commissary is closed and it's closed for a week,
So many food trucks
you know,
close, you know.
they'll still go out and operate.
Oh, for
Well,
sure.
see, like
And-
if
and it-
we have a shared commissary, they have to we have them sign a commissary agreement so that if the commissary is closed, they know that their license is not valid or is suspended.
Well, ours do too, but
Well, but I mean, that goes back on them for sure, but
Okay,
Well,
so
that-
that gets
that's
into the
assuming
system
they're
a
gonna be
little
gone.
bit. So let's finish this and then we do have Fayez is here, so we can kind of bounce some ideas with Fayez, and Abdul is online. And they'll be able to kind of help us a little bit, or we can give them some things that we're looking for in the system. So the last couple of things, on the last page of the amendment proposal, it's clarify that the statewide mobile retail food establishment license is issued by the local health departments in compliance with the licensing requirements that we all come up with and on behalf of the State Department of Health. I call us the State Department of Health because that is what the House bill calls us. It calls us the State Department of Health. It doesn't acknowledge Indiana Department of Health, so I wanted to leave it as is. Next, clarification that the plan review fee is separate from the licensing and inspection fee. We want to add a section that requires all mobile retail food establishment inspections to be uploaded into a statewide system within a specific time frame. But we do hear your concerns, and we can talk to Fayez because I think she called it patch system. So we can talk about that. Add a section requiring event organizers to notify the regulatory authority within 30 days of the event with their intent to host mobile retail food establishments. If they're not gonna have mobiles, like maybe we don't need them to tell us, because the tents and everything, they have to register anyway. So maybe the event organizer doesn't need to tell us. Or maybe we just want them to tell us everything, every event that pops up. They would need to submit a complete list of vendors, based on the definition of a mobile retail food establishment. And opening a can of worms, a tent is considered a mobile retail food establishment by definition. It is easily movable. I know that we say on skids, on wheels, those are such as, those are the examples, but a tent is easily movable. It is not a brick and mortar where I can just like, yep, there are ants over here. I'm just gonna pick up my tent and go over here where there are no ants. So a tent is also classified as a mobile. There have been other states, I think they call tents knockdown establishments. I don't remember, the city of Columbus. If you look at what they define a mobile, they don't say tent, they call it a knockdown establishment. So a tent is by definition, we consulted with our attorney, we talked about amongst ourselves. A tent is a mobile, unless they're temporary, that's different.
But how can a tent be immobile if they don't?
I'm sure about my.
So I'll use the state fair as an example. So at the state fair, it's not a temporary event. Well, it used to not be a temporary event. They have access to a 3-compartment sink. They have access to, well, warewashing. They have access to all those things. But they're considered,
Right, but what I'm going back to is, if you look at the definition of a mobile in the code, it says it has to meet all the remaining items of the code. So that they don't have floors, walls, or ceilings. So I don't understand how that can be.
But a mobile also doesn't have a mop sink. So it's just kind of, I don't know how to explain it better. A mobile doesn't meet every single thing that the code has. So
But that's why they require a commissary.
a tent would require a commissary as well. They still have to have it. They still can't have the food come from their house. They can't bring it to the
But I
tent.
don't think the code says that
We are out of this. We're out.
a tent, it has to go to a commissary. It's
Yeah,
just
they
a-
do. A tent has to go to a commissary. They can't make it from their house in their hotel room. It's the same.
But if they have food that they can prepare on site the morning of the event, so if they can go to the store and show me that they have hamburgers and hot dogs, I don't require them to have a
So
commissary.
are they temporary though? Are they there for
But if
a
they're,
short
if
amount
they're
of time?
less than whatever it is, 14 calendar days, okay, that's temporary. But if you're saying every event, like we have a fall festival and they're there, I'm not considering them mobiles. I'm considering them annual temporary. So they're there more than those 14 days. You know, I'm not
But
considering.
then they wouldn't be a temporary if they're more than the 14 calendar days. They wouldn't be a temporary. They would be a retail food
But you can
establishment.
start temporary. It doesn't say you can't have a temporary and temporary.
Right, it doesn't say, yeah,
Yeah,
you
it's
can,
just
Indianapolis
doing
Light
it every
Liquor
14
operates over
days.
14 days.
As the same business?
Yeah.
In the same location.
yeah. What do you do for markets?
You don't allow that, but yeah.
What do you do for a farmer's market that's
We changed the venue
between
though too.
March
Right.
or April and then till October?
We've got the Hand of Haunted Acres that goes from probably October 1st until November 2nd or.
And they're not
4th.
plumbed? They're not,
No, yes, they are plumbed.
Farmers markets, they tear down every.
We use our local ordinance as 30 days.
My inside.
Pretty
work.
much what it said.
We don't have any.
But yeah, for the rule, I mean, I don't know if, is there a day break in there? Is it 14? You gotta take a day break? I don't
Something like
remember
that.
that, but
It just says 14.
14.
Yeah.
yeah, so we don't run into that just because of our ordinance, but for the rule, I mean,
I was just throwing that out.
I agree with the group. You're really getting into a lot of things as far as water under pressure, fresh water tank requirements, wastewater tank requirements. There's just a lot of things that are required of mobiles. Also in the plan review course, FD 207 does not really identify those tent setup says mobile units. Now it does say push carts and things like that. So there may be some instances where there may not be floors, walls, and ceilings per se, but I have not seen an example of a tent being mentioned as a mobile, even at the federal level. So I'd probably like to research this just a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because it'd be a big change. I do feel like some counties may blur the lines because we do see mobile permits where it was a temp setup. And I think when you look at the spreadsheet and you see high numbers with a low population on the spreadsheet, it does kind of raise a red flag. How many mobile permits are being issued statewide at this moment?
Well, and the other thing, back to what Amy was saying, they do an annual temporary, which can be a tent. They just do, the same thing over and over. And they just move it, from one place to another.
so what do you all do with like hot dog carts? What do you mean? Like, well, is the hot dog, is the hot dog cart a mobile or is it a temporary?
It's a mobile.
So what's the difference between a tent with sinks, hot water heater, water under pressure, and then like a hot dog cart?
They have that.
Well, no, I'm saying the tent would too.
Water under pressure?
Yeah. Like they'd have their own
I believe.
freestanding sink, because we do tents, we allow it. Now you have the issue of walls.
Under the mobile
Yeah.
licensing?
But we also do push carts and hot dog carts and all that is mobile. So it's like what's, they don't have walls.
Let's get the city ready to know that we're getting into some nonsense here.
I just don't think
We have four sinks.
consider as
Hot water
tents.
under pressure.
Because like on our permitting process, we say, is this a stand or a tent? Whatever it is. So I mean, I could see where it's easily movable. We ask them to put like, concrete weights on them so they're not harpoons in the middle of winter. I would not consider that easily movable. So I think we're gonna have to come up with the specific definition. If that's the case, then we have thousands of mobiles. So that changes my number. But we don't look at it like that. We're saying if it doesn't have floors and walls, they can have a pump sink, it's not plumbed in, that's my temporary annual. I don't, like our hot dog carts and our push carts, it depends. If it has, everything that under the requirement for a mobile, it's a mobile. If it's just a silly little cart with frozen ice cream, he ain't getting a mobile permit from me. He doesn't have the accessibility for that. So I don't know. Maybe we need to get in what specifically is this and the criteria there. I don't know.
The IC code definition of mobile doesn't say anything at all about a commissary.
Nope.
Right.
Which means every temporary is actually mobile
In that definition,
in that
yes.
definition. So that's what goes, we kind of.
Yeah, but the temporary is-
Differentiate, it's how they operate, and we have to come up with a differentiation for the type of mobile they are. As to
Yes.
whether or not they do meet the requirements for a statewide mobile unit versus having to have temporary licenses.
I think one thing that sticks out as well is 488 and our rule under number 7, if the sewage tank has to be permanently installed retention tank, I don't know how it would be permanently installed in a temporary type of setup.
Right. I agree.
All right, so that was all that was on here. We have a lot of takeaways, so I will clean this up and give this back to the group. Amy?
Can we go back to section 7 or subsection section 7? The last one where it says owner operator of a mobile retail food establishment shall post their permit on the window within the customer view.
Page.
I wrote on top of mine.
Oh, it's in the amendment note.
It's in the amendment.
Second.
Is there a way to add on their last inspection as well? And that way, when we board the truck, we can say, let me look at your, your permit and your last inspection, because he could have been here and I want to know exactly what happened at her place versus what I'm looking at.
Can it just be to maintain all inspections for the calendar year?
Yeah.
Yeah, like in
Yeah,
order.
I would say that. too.
On site or
Yes. Yeah.
available,
They would
however you want to
maintain
put
on-site for
that.
The year, yeah.
And the license has to be not behind the pull up thing. It has to be visible. I think it has to be really clear that it can't be hidden, or the stickers would handle that, but people move things, or when they have wraps, they move things.
Right.
All right, so they still have to have the permit. Well, we're asking for them to have a permit in the window or just in for customer view. And then maintain all inspections on site for a full calendar year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
on site and available or on
On site
site.
and available.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about the software system that we are proposing to create. I know that there were some opportunities where some things wouldn't work, but let's still throw out some of the ideas. Fayaz is here, Abdul is online, and they're able to take some notes for us because we meet with their team to kind of figure out how can we make this work for all parties involved. So when we're thinking about a software system, a statewide software system, what are some of the things that we are like, okay, we need to have this, we need to be able to do this? What are some of those items for us?
So I think for me, if I'm gonna go out and do an event and I'm writing inspections, I want to be able to see the inspection in real time of what happened in the last county, so that I know to make that decision, you're not operating correctly, or you're out, or you're actually revoked your permit in Hendricks County. I need to know that before I get them. So I don't know how you would do that. I mean, is there like a real time? Is there a,
Mobile phone access,
maybe?
I mean, that's probably as close as you could get to that. I mean, you still get like in real time out in the field. to
Right.
Be able to see that.
Right.
So would it be fair to have a section, let's say we created a, because once we know about a truck, a profile for that truck should be created. Would it be fair to say we want a section for just internal notes only? I don't know if this is a public facing, we don't know yet if this is gonna be a public facing. No, okay, so this will likely not be a public facing platform. So inspection notes, let's say you can't get the full inspection up there, like uploaded in real time, but you might be able to say, I was here on such and such date, we revoked their permit.
Or were you able to like have an alert button where like it turns red, so that notifies the next county that, hey, you need to take a look at that. However you need to do it, but I mean, I'm not gonna take my laptop in the field. By the time I set it down, I've lost it somewhere. But maybe mobile access, so that like it does, maybe it changes the whole permit red. Maybe it does something that
Some way to alert.
we know that we're alerted in that real time that there's an issue. And you can have, you know, public notes and internal notes, but
We're gonna have to keep from the licensing part, from pre-licensing to licensing, we're gonna have all that for us to do the renewal things, and then we're gonna have our inspections in there just to justify our thing. Then we're gonna have to put inspections on this site. But what about the pre-licensing inspections and things like that? Is the intention to have those access to those records? Because those are important, because that
Full
sets the
records,
menu
full
and the
story.
layout and everything.
Full story is what we're looking for.
And then we have pictures, that we take of them because they change things a lot or switch trucks. Now I have a blue truck. So whatever software that you're intending to use has to have a lot of storage to be able to store all this and scan and put it all in.
We can do that.
Yeah. What, is this when you guys use the state? What software are you talking about? Or is this just fictional
So we're
software?
gonna create, so we haven't created it yet. That's why we're just like, we're in the very early stages of what's required right now. So it wouldn't be, it might not be USA Food Safety. It
Okay, so it's
wouldn't
not
be
an out of box
RECAP.
one, it's something that you're putting.
Yeah,
in.
Maybe
Okay.
one or the other, right?
Yeah.
Or still,
It
yeah.
would be something. This is more together.
Early
Here's what we
stages.
want it to
And-
do.
and-
That'll kind of help us better.
and
determine what course
hypothetically,
to
is
take.
this gonna be able to be set and ready to go live as of like that January 1?
Yes,
Yes.
Mandated, we have to.
yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we would need the ability to upload photos. We need the ability to be able to be notified, almost as if, let's say, I've got the food truck A and I click on food truck A, like, does it, a notification pops up on the screen, or it's just red, or something to draw my
Something to
attention
alert-
that, okay.
Like we have a warning tab on ours. So like we put all the information in, we have a warning tab. You go to that warning tab, could say, you know, doesn't have X, Y, or Z, or, you know, revoked permit or whatever.
Bounce check.
Yeah, bounce check,
Could
whatever.
you screenshot, are we able, Keon?
Could we get Faya's not access, but would somebody volunteer, or a couple of you volunteer a little bit of your time to maybe show him your system, you know, so that he had something to look at? And if not, that's fine too, but might be beneficial.
Look at ours, our system sucks, so.
That's why we're supposed to jump on USA
It
Food
doesn't have good
Safety.
features.
No.
Be able to pick and choose features that are going to work best for everybody.
What are some of the other features that we look for when we're looking to identify histories of noncompliance, or just looking in general? What do we want to see? Like when we click on food truck A's tab, what information do we need?
I mean, you should talk about like even basic information like owner and commissary information.
Yeah.
We need to have all of that, obviously.
So we need to know their commissary or their servicing station or whatever you want to call it. You know, that they are permitted, like their county, home county or whatever. And then like we're able to see past inspections and then we have like personal notes off public notes. So we're able to write in, like, change the, you know, license plate on blue truck to yellow truck. So we're able to know that. So when we go out, we can see that, but.
Fayaz, so they did mention commissary locations. So it's nice to have the ability to change it, but will we be able to see how many times it has changed? Does that matter? To know, like, okay, they're just telling us like their commissary is just wherever, every county they go to, they're like, yeah, I have a commissary here, I have a commissary there. Does that matter at all? Do we need to see how many times it's changed? Is that relevant?
Whatever the approved commissary is at that time, that's how we register it, is based on that address of that commissary. So whatever that address is the commissary, and we'd have the agreement, but most times it's not on there. So, but that commissary thing is important for any of the menu they provide, or any of those, so that.
Yeah, I think it would be helpful.
Is the commissary actually, so do we need to have a list of things, or just like type it? So can a single commissary provide supplies to two or more trucks?
So a commissary, like for us, if they have 7 trucks, they can use the same commissary. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, what he's saying is like, do we have a list of required fields for the commissary where we could preload those, you know, and you have to answer them to be able to move forward? Or would it be better if it was a fillable, like blank, type as you go.
Well, I'll just say, like, when I've used US Foods to answer the 10 questions slows me down 45 minutes. And by the time I've asked those questions, they have revamped that entire restaurant to look spot on. So I don't, again, we'll go back to the same thing. We're talking about time in the field. I don't want to do those questions. I mean, I can say to you, hey, where's your commissary? Where'd he go? I can write all that down, but I'd rather just have a fillable. You know what I mean?
Since we're collecting this information from the get-go, so when somebody applies for a mobile food truck permit, right? Isn't this part of their application process, right? And so when you would get to the field with the field-based, hopefully, mobile app, if you will, it comes up and it has their commissary info on there.
Right. And in theory, that's great, but then we watch commissaries change from calendar year January to December 47 times. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
here, I'm not there anymore. I'm over here now, or I went over
And the
here.
only way that gets updated is if you collect it in the field.
Or
Nine
if
times out of
we
10.
know they're not there. So we do have some commissary places that are like shared kitchens that do tattletale. They're like, they have not been here for 6 months. And then that triggers us to go, wait, you cannot operate until we get this information. So it kind of depends on where.
And if they change it, I'm assuming you all want to know.
Yes.
Yeah,
Can't that be in our requirements?
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, does that help?
Yes, yeah.
So hypothetically, if we have all those fields in our software, would this be something that as long as it has matching fields, that it could be exported, correct, from our?
Yes, we can, do the coding accordingly, so we can write kind of a small application, separate application to pull, records or data from your application, just to use that.
Would it be able to do inspections? The inspections that fall underneath it, though, would it be able to have the ability to have just like the record information, but also the inspection information? Or would we
That's
have
our
to,
goal. Right, Jordan?
that we could though export it to it,
Yes.
that there would be the possibility
So
for it?
that depends on, say, so since we have, 95, 96 counties now, so if all agree to a single template of a data, so say if inspection has some 10 fields, if all agree to have all those 10 mandatory fields, if everybody gives that data, it is good actually. So because we cannot create individual applications to pull data from individual counties. So if all the counties agree with similar kind of data, so obviously now we are going to use a statewide inspection form. Hopefully that should be similar. But if all the counties has that data, we can do it actually.
We have that created almost.
Yes, so that is the Indiana data portal. So that is the similar kind of approach.
But we would have to export daily.
Yes, yeah, and again, it
Or on a-
depends, maybe in multiple phases, we can improve our system so that we can just give you a program on a single button click, the data can be exported from your system and then imported in our system.
Can that be an automatic push pull,
Yeah,
like on a daily basis or something?
that can also be done.
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, that'd be good to, with our number of records, and I think everybody here would be that same way, as if there's a way to export it, because we pay a lot of money for our inspection software and our own individual.
VDR inspections imported too.
Yes. How many people are on USA Foods? How many counties?
18.
18.
So fine, so I hear you say, because all counties gonna have the same system. Can that same tool, as long as the data is the same, you're saying? This doesn't matter if the systems are different, it just pulls the same data and puts it into this shared system.
Yes, yeah. So since if each county is using their own different systems, so we will be creating a kind of hub, which is called an API or a service kind of thing. So those systems can interact with us. Maybe at some point we may need their IT team to create a software to interact with our APIs, with our services, so they can provide data to that. So from there, our system can pull the data actually. So because if they are using different systems, so if all are using similar systems, it will be easy. But again, as I told, there are 96 counties, all counties are using different systems. We cannot write code for each system.
But it would be minimum work if they upgraded their system one time to match the same questions just for mobiles.
Mhm.
And that would be the max amount of work that they would need, because then you would have a push notification almost sent,
Yeah,
and then it would just capture the data.
yes, yeah.
Would that
again,
alleviate the
It
concerns from
would, but I'm gonna be
earlier?
a baby too, since we have so many that I like our wording. And so I think that we would be able to, I think we're all in agreement in our donut counties of what the wording is and how we're doing it, so.
Yeah, again, it doesn't need to, they do not need to change anything in their system. Only thing what we wanted is they need to capture all the mandatory fields, what we needed. So if it is in their system, then they can just write the code to export the data. So their system need not be changed. If there are any fields missing, they may need to make it mandatory, but otherwise it is just a code to pull the data alone. They can give it to us.
And then question, so once you're able to pull the data from them, will it create a new profile per truck that comes in?
Yes, yeah.
Is that
So it-
possible?
Yeah, so it depends on, so our first thing is we need to have individual records of all the trucks. So each truck should have some kind of uniquely identifying number. So we will have that in our system. So the same thing should be there in your system. So that is the identifying factor. So based on that, we can map, okay, if we are getting some inspection records, we need to have some unique identifying factor to map those records. So this, the VIN number, what you're saying, the VIN number, the green color.
And that would help just in
Yeah.
case we accidentally misspell the operation name, right?
Yeah, so that logics can be defined whether we do need to create a new one, even if there is a misspell, or do we need to reject it saying that this is not present in our system. And
But all the existing would be transferred over based on how they're registered within the counties now, right?
yes.
Yeah.
And again, so it depends, are we going to register the new trucks with our system alone? Or are we going to register with their system? How are we going to get data to our system? So everything matters because, so if the initial registration should be in our system, then we are not going to allow any new trucks, new truck data to get imported. But if they can register the new trucks, then our system can allow to get that based on this, the VIN number combination. Again, it all depends how we need to work it out. All we needed is a clean data and a template that all counties needs to follow.
So for the vast majority of counties that have no software program, would they still be able to log into the system and upload their inspection data?
I mean, I didn't get you.
So for counties that don't have any software program at all, which is most of them.
Yeah. So they can log into our system directly.
Okay.
Yes, they can do that.
Okay.
So that is our basic system. So our basic design of our system is they need to log into ours. They can enter everything, all the truck information, all the inspection under that, and they can upload all the inspection reports, images, photos, anything they can do that.
So we
that
have
is
to do it manually.
Yeah, so yeah, that is a manual. So that is the basic functionality of our system. But if the counties, if they use their own systems, they can always import data to us.
Is there a way to make it more user friendly for the counties, including us, for when we do temporary events? Because that's what a lot of trucks will get temporary event inspections on pen and paper. Is there a way to kind of ease getting that information into the system versus we have to sit here, we have to line by line, put everything because it's on a piece of paper? Is there a way to?
Definitely, we need some form of input to the system. So at present, we cannot read directly from a paper. So that has a lot of drawbacks. Even though we have sophisticated software, so still there needs to be a manual, human to verify the data even after conversion. So definitely there is a human effort needed. So the best way is to key in by the users into the system. So we will have a clean data.
Yeah, I was just thinking about a way to come together on that. So 1/1/27, we have the ability to issue the statewide permit. And we have tons, obviously, 4,500 of them already. What, just help me, like, what happens 1/1/27? I guess it comes back to the, what'd you
Yeah,
say?
retire.
It comes back to the, are they allowed to just have county permits versus statewide, right? That's something we're going to clarify. So assuming the answer is they can just have a county, we're going to have county mobile trucks and we're going to have statewide mobile trucks. To me, the statewide should all be entered into the state system, right? And the county, the ones that are county, could be managed like they are now, right? So it wouldn't be that we would have to necessarily get every one of these manually entered into the new system as of 1/1/27, right?
I do think though there's value, even if it's just to hold the record. So if a truck who isn't a statewide one decides to be local and they operate in another county, say Elkhart, they could look up and be like, oh, they are licensed, but they're not licensed as statewide, just to have that data sharing.
Just as,
But it could
since we're doing this anyway, like, yeah.
But it doesn't need to go steep on those, I think. I think just to have a registry. And then the ones that are statewide would be the ones that have the inspection and everything else.
Well, I think you could do a push-pull for that, right? Just the basic name, you know, their unique identifier, et cetera, right?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
But for now, since we are talking about the unique ID, we are going to generate it newly. We may not have it for the existing trucks for now. I'm not sure if they do have it in a specific format, it's good. If not, then yeah, we can design the system accordingly for the initial push with the basic data. We can work with it.
So just from our software period too, it would probably take quite a while to do it, but we'd probably need a good solid 6-month testing period, or what would your testing period need to look like for all this data coming in? I mean.
So so first thing, we will create the software with some templates and we will give some pilot counties to test on those things, how it works and things. It depends. Usually we will have pilot counties to work for 1 to 2 months for testing things. And if there is any feedbacks, we can come back with that. And so for now, since this is starting of 2025, ending of 2025, and we'll have a year and a half, we need to plan for the pilot counties to test around maybe October, maybe end of September, something like that. To take 2 months time, 1 month to 2 month time should be good for the testing period actually.
I think to help out a little bit, Fayez, I think what we owe the group is, like, right now, we're starting to kind of make sure that the scope, I can move, sorry, guys. But to look at the scope again, get the scope right, you know, for the system, because we were able to get a little bit more money because we were pulled way back. So we got a little bit more money so it can do more than just stagnant data. So we'll update the scope for ODA, OTC. And then once they have that scope, then our ask of them is to create a timeline for everything that has to happen. So all their work and, you know, when they get it to a test phase and when they get it to a, you know, they want health departments to pilot it and when we want that feedback and when we need to do the data transfers and when we need to do the training and et cetera. We'll work with Fayez and his team to get that timeline, bring that back at the next meeting to talk about with the group. Cause you're right. I mean, there's gonna be a bunch of steps. I gotta have that timeline to work toward.
Okay. Any other things we're thinking are absolutely essential, when we're thinking of a statewide license, what information we need when we're out in the field to look at?
One of the things that I was planning or had originally intended in Marion County was to have a commissary visit log. It worked for me because, well, the food trucks were going to other counties, and so those counties don't have the same thing, and we weren't all on the same page. I feel it'd be beneficial to all of us if we have that ability to cross-check and make it a requirement for them to have the commissary owner sign that they've been at the facility to use it as required.
Okay,
So that
so it
way
would be
there's-
their own, so I just want to make sure I understand it. So I'm the operator. I have to have my own commissary log. I have to get it signed by the person in charge at the commissary before I leave. But it's not the commissary's responsibility to give me a commissary log or keep it on file or anything like that. This
No,
is
it would
solely on
be
the-
something that we would check at the routine. So if I go to Hamilton County, I would, I'll food check with it, and then Amy would ask, can I see your commissary log? And we would write that on the board.
Okay, that might be something for the IAC.
Yeah.
Um,
You said
versus
the routine-
this.
the routine at the commissary, or just the routine of the mobile? account?
Mobile. This is for the mobile only.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha, okay.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, and it could be an idea for the commissary in general, the person in charge at the commissary, because they're a retail food establishment that gets inspected itself, right?
Mhm.
So that could be their responsibility too, is the sign, to provide you with the sign off of when they sign in, when they sign out, and then you just have a record of everyone. Since we have to update the IAC anyway, that might be,
Would it be a login or equivalent? Because they give us their door keys sometimes when they're in there, like a list of the times they were in there because they have specific codes. So I think even offering that as an equivalent, or something that would be there would be meet the same requirements.
so we only have 5 more minutes left. I do want to be cognizant of your time. Are there any more questions about any of the software system?
I have a question. If we could build, and this is, I always like to start with your dream and then let us shatter it down. But like, start with our dream model, our dream. If we could develop a system whereby you can do inspections in the field, meaning, Jordan's like, Megan, that's not realistic, but on certain things. So he schooled me a little bit, but is there a way that if there was a way that we could build something where you could either use an iPad or a tablet or something in the field to do your actual inspections in the system, is that something that you guys think is doable, you would like to do, or is it just next to impossible?
I think it's the wrong group because I think we're all doing something similar there. I think it would be the other ones.
Like,
if you're giving away iPads or things, I mean, we'll take that.
we have a lot from COVID.
There you go.
Yeah.
But we do that now. And so we have that system in place. And so I don't think I could comment on, because I think it's just whatever's doable for the smallest
Yeah.
counties that are going to be struggling with that too.
Yeah.
We've had some counties that have refused technology.
Yeah.
They might not have the support for it too.
Right,
I mean,
right.
our CIS department's already, we have a lot of endeavors going on.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I don't think, I see the value in it. I see the value in the real time that it takes to do an inspection, but if we're duplicating and if we're not duplicating, it would show this mobile takes, an average mobile inspections 50 minutes or an average. So we use that data a lot.
Mm.
So I think it would be beneficial if people were using it when it's the real time, not writing it out and going back, but there's a lot of logistics with that part.
Sure.
And leaving the written copies or like printed copies or email copies, because we have a lot in our legal thing for what is an email copy. So I think it's a lot. I think it would be a wonderful thing. I encourage technology because we can have that real time thing, but
Right.
we're in a different spot to be able to comment on it.
Okay. I'm just thinking about like, as the concerns that you guys have shared with us about, if they're statewide and they've been to Marion and Hamilton and next they're going to Hancock and et cetera. And you all go and you you know, you happen to go see them and you note something and it's, you know, it's not in a statewide system, then you're gonna have to hunt it down and everything, right?
So yeah, I mean, and don't get me wrong, I mean, everybody likes technology and it'd be great to have that iPad, but I know for us, we have both. But, but trying to get logged in, trying to spend the entire day as a field inspector,
Yeah.
trying to get it in there, trying to get Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Like if we go to Westfield and we do an event, absolutely zero Wi-Fi. I don't know what happens there. So if it's only the iPad, I may be stuck not being able to access that information. Then I have to immediately go to paper.
Is there something we can do offline? Because I'm not saying we're gonna use USA Food Safety, but there's the offline mode, and then when you are able to reconnect, you sync it, and then all your information goes to the
Yeah,
cloud.
but
maybe?
what I'm saying is if you're going, like for me, if I'm gonna go do events, I have 8 events on Saturday. I'm gonna be going back to back to back to back, and I've seen at least 75 people in that Saturday. So am I gonna run out of power? Is there gonna be, you know, a charger access for my car? Is there gonna be, you know, things? Because if I charge it up the night before and I do my 2 events, I'm down. You know what I mean? I'm done. So just thinking of those things as I'm out doing inspections. It's not like you're gonna see one truck. Or if you're out at the fair or you're out at Indy 500, you have your inspection bag plus whatever you need. Now I have a laptop I gotta maintain.
Yeah, that's,
And I can't lay it down because, you know, some mobile trucks are this big and some mobile trucks are this big. So, you know, just logistically, it's tough to,
you gotta have everything you gotta have and.
and
do
they
it,
don't,
And you've got that, and then
Yeah.
you're trying to fill it out while you're doing, that's a bit challenging.
well, I mean, it's great. I mean, you know, if you could hook it around my neck and I could do it this way and move on, it'd be super,
We need to
but
get those glasses when we just.
Yeah.
Do you guys do your reports the same day?
and yeah, that's the other thing too, like not contaminating their stuff versus my stuff. What?
Do you write you handwrite mobile inspections when you're in the field or?
It depends on what it is. Like if it's a small event, I'll use my laptop. If it's a big event, I'm not using my
So
laptop.
you give them a report while
Yep,
you're.
we give report on site.
So see, we don't even do that. Our reports don't go in until the next day.
We've, like our boss wants them in by the next day, no matter what.
We do it the next day, but we don't do it on site at the event. Unless it's a temporary. Temporaries we handwrite, mobiles are put in a drawer system.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. We have some takeaway things today. I'm going to have a couple pages of notes for the amendment proposal, so I will work on that up into next week. I will send you guys an email with the new updated proposed amendment. I can't discuss it outside of this group, but once we reconvene, I will also send you the same kind of meeting format, when's your availability kind of survey. Likely it will be the end of the month, early October. That way we can kind of stay on schedule with our timeline of action items and deliverables.
I think maybe once before IHA fall conference, at the end of the month, beginning of October, so
Okay.
one more time before.
And likely we'll all see each other at fall conference. Let's not discuss the House bill at fall conference, just that way we can honor the state open door laws, that it has to be recorded for the general public as well. So any final questions or thoughts before we adjourn the meeting?
I just was gonna say, I think we also need to address where they're gonna go to the bathroom.
Okay, yep. Well, that's gonna go into the actual IAC rule, so we don't have time for that one. We don't have that much time because we do have to submit it to the governor's office, but that will go, because I still have your notes, and I think that might have been on there as well. Some of the notes, I still have those, so.
So in the House bill, so on page 4, under section 8E, that's where it says a person may not operate a mobile retail establishment in Indiana unless the person obtains a mobile retail establishment license. So that's there's a couple spots there where there's no differentiation between a state license versus a county license.
Okay.
So I don't know if that would be our opening. But I don't know if that's someplace where you would want to take that out to allow us to have a local, or if you would want to differentiate a state versus a local. That might be a place to kind of get that in.
I think if you give them the option, to just do a county versus the state, you'll find that you'll have a lot less statements.
Would we be allowed to survey our mobiles at our licensing renewal period? Once we figure out this is when this is like decided, because that's going to be decided pretty quickly. Would that be an option for us to survey our mobile?
I'll have to ask our lawyer. I can't say yes, I can't say no, because we have to make it fair for all mobiles to have access to it. So it might have to be something on our website. Let me double check that. I don't know if we're allowed to do that.
Because I just am curious of what
still ask.
that scope, you know,
Yeah.
that would even be worth the discussion if it's. Where we can know what ours is gonna be, how it's.
And this might be something that we would partner with industry on versus internally ourselves. So we would, if we get approval, we partner with Abby. She did have to step out, but we would partner with Abby in her group.
I would like to see. Though I'm just gonna say some representation, other people who aren't part of the restaurant association, that is the bulk of it. There's very few that are affiliated with that organization, so I think it would be a cross section of industry would be better.
Okay. Well, I thank you guys. Motion to adjourn at 2:05.
Make a motion.
Second. All right. Have a good weekend, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming, everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, you did.